Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show podcast, place about games, friends, and getting better. My name is Ben Hansen, and personally, I'm really happy that you clicked on this with some sort of finger or toe. I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hey.
Otherwise known as Hot Facial Hair Kyle Hilliard.
Lazy. Just haven't had a chance to shave facial hair.
This is lazy. Hilliard. Sign me up. Also joined by the king of the beer, Jacob Giller.
I'm hoping they clicked on it with a finger.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, well, we're not going to judge. Whatever you want to click on, you can click on. Kelsey Lewin's joining us.
Smooth-faced. No beard here.
What's that like?
It's great.
Yeah. That seems
I have to shave the rest of me because of, whatever Western standards, but...
Boo! This is a weird note to start the podcast on, but by God, we're covering
Clicking on toes, shaving bodies.
We're going to be covering our bodies with Nintendo Direct news, everybody, because this Nintendo Direct dropped on Tuesday and blew our facial hair back. Then we're going to be talking about Still Wakes the Deep. The new game from the Chinese room. Excited to hear Jacob's take on that. Yes, everybody out there, we are going to be talking about Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. A little joke I came up with there, everybody. Come on. And a bunch more stuff. Then back half of the show, we have some great community questions. Kelsey, thank you for jumping in. You are in a different setup with a different phone, so nobody can complain about your mic on this episode because you were very gracious for I want to be on this episode so bad that I know it's not ideal, but please let me on anyway. So everyone needs to be nice is my policy.
Yeah, be nice. I'm hoping this audio's fine. It's all Apple stuff. I don't know.
Whatever. I think it sounds all right. Kyle,
I have a new setup actually where I can kite the complaints my way. Or I can do stuff
like this,
No.
so that's is that good?
Ish. I say
ish. I promise I will
press that button, Ben.
What is that setup? What do you have going on over there? A helium button?
I had to get a new the thing that the mic plugs into, and then that thing plugs in the computer. I had to replace that, and it just has all these options that I won't take advantage of,
Jesus.
like reverb and stuff like that. Good stuff.
Well, you can save that for when you're talking about maybe some announcements here, because. We did a reaction stream for the Nintendo Direct. It's up on MinnMax's YouTube channel. You can check it out there. Kyle, you were not on that, and there were some surprises. I saw a one tweet from a Nintendo employee before the Nintendo Direct that was like, "We've been busy. Tune into Nintendo Direct." I'm like, okay, that's Nintendo employee code for shooting up a flare and screaming, look at me, look at me, look at me, please tune into this thing. So normally I feel like I'm tamping down expectations, but this one was like, wait a minute, are they going to bring the heat? And they did. This is like their E3 equivalent, right. I feel like.
Can I say, as someone who is also not on it, the first 30 minutes of this Direct, I was like 2 out of 10. This is one of the worst press conferences I've ever watched. And part of that is my personal... It was personal taste, but it's like they started by saying they're bringing basketball to Nintendo Wii Sports, and there's like a DLC for the Disney thing.
Mario and Luigi. That was awesome. I was very excited.
Yeah, and so again, it's like that. I was like, okay, that's neat for some people, but the fact that there were 5 different DLCs announced.
No, it was
Mario and Luigi.
It was a lot of RPGs, which is great for some people. Maybe not you, Jacob Geller. And it was a lot of updates on things like, hey, there's an Among Us DLC. Check this out. It's like, okay, where's this going? But then they had some haymakers squeezed in there. And the first one, arguably, even if it glossed past our Lord and Savior Jacob Geller, was a new Mario Luigi game that they were very cryptic about, where it was just Mario and Luigi, no subtitle. And then at the very end, they revealed that this game is called Mario and Luigi Brothership, which is really...
I think they saved that for the end so that we would actually watch the trailer and not be laughing about the name Brothership the whole time.
Right. That is smart. Well, it's wild because Super Mario Galaxy 2 had a face ship, and we're very down with Brotherhood, but this is the first in Nintendo canon we've dealt with an actual brothership. But I mean, it's really surprising and weird. I mean, so just setting the scene a little bit for this thing, I thought we were all in the same camp of okay, they delayed the Switch 2. I know, Kyle, you like to say we didn't know that they did that, but it seems like all reporting is saying they delayed the Switch 2 from this year to next year to have a great software lineup ready to go. So I was in the camp of like, we'll get some more ports. It'll be the slow trickle of Nintendo 2024. And then now with this, I feel like the back half of the year for Nintendo is freaking stacked. It's really wild. And one of the reasons, is a new Mario and Luigi RPG coming out November 7th. Big confusing asterisk on this thing is like, we don't know who's developing this, because the developers of the previous Mario and Luigi games, Alpha Dream, was put in rest. There's some weird terminology, shut down effectively by Nintendo. Do you remember what their terminology was? It wasn't like we closed the studio. It's like we're sunsetting these people's lives. What was their word?
Euthanizing?
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, because I looked it up
Euthanizing.
when I wrote the story. I mean, has them fully listed as having gone bankrupt.
Bankrupt. We're bankrupting Alpha
We
Dream.
bankrupted them. That's right.
So
That's Wikipedia. I don't know.
But it is the odd thing of like, Nintendo has been so frustrating with being cagey about like, you tell us who developed this game. So I really feel like it's gonna be a situation of like, they're not gonna tell us until just look at the credits. What's wrong with you guys? Come on, internet, just read the credits when you play the game. That's how you can find out who's
Get
developing
good.
this.
Just beat the game.
Yeah. But
I mean, that's, I know, Jacob, you were underwhelmed, and I don't deny you that feeling, but it was really exciting for me because I thought Mario and Luigi as a franchise was dead.
yeah.
I just truly was like, we'll never see another Mario and Luigi. I really like those games a lot, but we're never going to get another one. And so that's when it really, and at first I was like, oh, are they remaking Mario and Luigi? And I was like, oh, they already did that.
Right.
And then
I fully assumed that was a remake.
Yeah, then it was clear. It's like, oh no, this is a totally new thing by some mystery developer. So it started out strong for me because I was so surprised.
Also,
Yeah, I mean, it's like my negative feelings towards it are not because I've played any of the games and disliked them. It's because it has this, perhaps like my prejudice. Like, I think of it as a mobile series, and so like a Nintendo DS series. Just seeing that, I like it kind of just has like this is a smaller game, and then like watching that trailer, I was like, oh no, this is big, this is legit. But like I did have to get over my feeling of like, these are those DS games that I never played, which is kind of my my connotation with the series so far.
yeah, I hear
No,
you.
I agree with that. I mean, I think even like this is not a rank I'm giving on quality. It's just like, it's probably like a B tier Nintendo series. And again, not from a quality standpoint, but just from like a
Brothership
how big
standpoint.
of a deal is it when they announce one of these?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It is wild to think of like the tail end of the Switch's life now before it's bankrupted to heaven. To think of like within a year span, we got the Super Mario RPG, we got a remake of Thousand Year Door, and now we're getting a new Mario and Luigi game. Like they are squeezing in so much stuff, and that was the overall theme, I think, for so much of this Nintendo Direct was, hey, JRPG fans, buckle up because we got a lot coming to you. One that I'm really excited about is Fantasian. Which is the game from the creator of...
So we're going to talk about a port of a mobile, like an iOS game, before we talk about a Zelda protagonist Zelda game?
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay, just making sure.
We're
Just double checking.
building up to it, man.
That's the trajectory of the podcast.
Yeah, and if people aren't on board
It's
for
also the trajectory of the Direct.
are you saying...
You have to start very boring.
Right. Everybody lower your hot take ratio because we're going to just
Sorry, Ben.
monotone our way through it. No, I'm very excited about this. So this is the Apple Arcade game that's from Sakaguchi, the creator of Final Fantasy, and it has a full soundtrack by Uematsu. It's like crazy talent went into this Apple Arcade game, and it has some fun ideas. I played it for a handful of hours in Apple Arcade, and then I said, I'll get back to it when it's on Switch. And I've been waiting like years and years for Fantasian to finally come out, but now it's coming out holiday 2024. Fantasian Neo Dimension is the name of this thing. And I've been thinking about Fantasian a lot in my life. Just playing with my kid, I'll just gaze off into the distance and he asks, what's wrong, Daddy? And I'll say, I'm thinking of Fantasian, Neo Dimension, my son. No, because it has a really great system called the Dimension, which bear with me. But the whole idea is you can just hit a button and then you can kind of stockpile all of the random encounters in the world. So if you're going through a dungeon or something, you just don't want to deal with random encounters. It's like, I don't want it right now, but you want that experience at some point. And so you just hit this little like save icon type of thing and it'll just like combo them in the bottom, and then you can pop it whenever you want. Of like, all right, now let's do every random encounter that I missed, and I can just listen to some podcasts and blast through all these things and still get the experience without having the frustration of trying to navigate a dungeon and have all these encounters thrown at you and stuff.
It's crazy that RPGs are now acknowledging like, yeah, this thing is boring and people don't like it.
Right.
So like you can decide when you want to do the boring thing.
Well, there have been so many different ways to address this exact problem, and every single time it fascinates me. Like Bravely Default doing the like, you can auto battle through the things and also speed it up and slow down the encounter rate and speed up the encounter rate, and all of them are. Yeah, I'm with you, Jacob. It always comes down to like, so maybe we just consider a better way if we like.
We all know when you're making an RPG, you have to get kicked in the shins. But what if this time, when you got kicked in the shins, you got to store it, and then you could get kicked in the shins 20 times?
No, it's funny. It is. We're just at a point in the game industry where we're just trying to smooth out every genre. Like it reminds me of last week's podcast talking about the RTS genre and battle aces being like, okay, will you play an RTS? If we took this out, we took this out, we took this out. It's like at some point maybe the genres just aren't going to appeal to 100 million people. We need to be okay with that because the people it does appeal to they're going to be very happy. But I was thinking of that dimension system when I was playing Dragon Quest III HD 2D, which if you really remember the MinnMax show, thank you for caring so much. But if you remember, we're talking about Summer Game Fest planning a while ago and kind of predictions, I think. And I said I got one email for an invite, and I was so excited about what it could be before realizing it was not that. And what it was is I got an invite from Square Enix saying, hey, do you want to come play a much anticipated HD 2D remake of one of our games? And I was like, it's Chrono Trigger. Oh my God. And then I got there and it's Dragon Quest 3, which, hey, that's all great. I love Dragon Quest 5 and 11. And so I'm excited to have a great opportunity to dive in and play more. But Kelsey, what's your Dragon Quest journey?
0.
Oh.
Never done a single one. And so I'm actually really excited about this.
Oh, that's going to be fascinating. Yeah. I mean, I think you should probably still jump into 11 over 3 HD 2D. But Dragon Quest 3, we're talking about like, why are they starting with 3? It's an odd place. But it turns out that Dragon Quest 3 is kind of the Metal Gear Solid 3 of the series, where the first 3 games are all about the Erdtree saga. And so Dragon Quest 3 is the first one, the earliest one in the chronology. So that's why they're starting with the HD 2D remake of Dragon Quest 3.
Now, do you think, is that a good strategy? Like, people talk, it's like, I always think it's probably better to do the things in the release order. Right? Because it's like, it's still, I don't know, maybe they'll be updating 1 and 2 to be even better, because they said they're going to release 3, and then later they're going to release 1 and 2, and so then if you play it 3, 1, 2, you're playing it in chronological order, which is interesting. But that seems like it's interesting to watch Star Wars, in chronological order after you've already seen all of them. But I don't know if it's actually better to like start with the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, it is. That's a good point. It is a tricky thing. I'm more fascinated by that idea of just the messaging of like launching with Dragon Quest 3 first, where it used to have a subtitle like Seeds of Salvation, I think, where it's like, why wouldn't you just call it Dragon Quest Seeds of Salvation if you want a clean entry point for folks? But this is all bearing the lead a little bit, because I got to play a good chunk of Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D, and it looks nice. I think I like the HD 2D look a little bit more of Live Alive, but it was funny to just have, or interesting, I think, to hear from Square Enix reps and marketing leads how much they're owning the HD 2D thing. It's like, I think we see it as like an industry-wide term, and they're trying to be like, this is a Square Enix thing. We're the pioneers. We're really pushing the HD 2D. When you think of HD 2D, think of us. It's our signature move. But the game itself, it's an old game. They made it a lot more convenient to play now, like objective markers on the map, so you can choose exactly where to go, which is very, very handy to have for these old RPGs. And then the big thing is for the combat, you can speed it up to like ultra fast again, so you can just kind of get through these random encounters, because there are a lot of random encounters in Dragon Quest 3, even in this version. And so as I was playing it, I was literally thinking about Fantasian. Like, I wish I had that dimension system, because it is a lot of being interrupted by these slimes over and over again. But the funky thing with this game is you can choose if you want a male or female hero in the beginning now, which is kind of cool. And the interesting thing is, if you choose a female hero, it remixes the gender of everybody in your party. So it's not like if you choose a woman, everybody else is a woman. But if you choose a woman, then like some genders are swapped in your party as you're picking up party members for Dragon Quest III now. So it was, I wasn't blown away by my time with Dragon Quest III as somebody who loves 5 and 11. If you haven't played Dragon Quest, I would still recommend going for 11. But if you want,
11 is like 150 hours.
It's not that bad, is it?
Okay, it's like it is among the longer like I love JRPGs, and even I look at that one and I'm like, it's Xenoblade level, you know?
Yeah, but it's so clean. I think Dragon Quest 11 is shorter than you think. You should look up how long to beat. I don't think it's that bad. But the big thing with Dragon Quest 3 here is the soundtrack. I think is the most impressive part because they got like the full Tokyo Orchestra to redo all of the old music and stuff. So playing that and like HD 2D visuals, it's super cool. So yeah, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D coming out November 14th, and then they announced that in 2025. Surprise, we are doing Dragon Quest 1 and 2. All right, Kyle, cleanser palette. I need to stop talking about random encounters and old genres. What do you want to talk about most?
Let's talk about Zelda.
Hell yeah. What was your experience watching that?
It was interesting because it was like, it came up and we're like, oh, is this a Link Between Worlds?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's the Link's Awakening remake art style. Must be a Grezzo thing. And then I was like, is this a remake of the Oracle games? And then it was like pretty quickly, I was like, this doesn't look familiar at all. I think this is totally new. So, okay, cool. New 2D Zelda from Grezzo, presumably, because we don't know the developer. And then it was like, sort of the curtain got pulled back and I was like, but you're playing as Zelda. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And it's still called The Legend of Zelda, which is cool. It's not like considered a spin-off necessarily.
But Dan Reichert will, but just because he's a monster. Yeah, they should have called it The Legend is Zelda.
The Legend is Zelda. Well, I've seen a lot of Twitter's calling it The Legend of Link.
Of course, that makes sense.
Which is clever. But like, I think if they called it that, it would have been seen as like it would have been like Nintendo's doesn't have the courage to let Zelda be the star of a Zelda game.
Yeah, no, and they were really explicit. They were like, here is the next Zelda game.
Right.
Like, Aonuma was like very specifically, phrasing this as like, yeah, it's the new one. It is, if you like this series, play this one now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, this is the Peach game. It's just the Women Power year.
That is true. I hadn't thought of that comparison. Absolutely. This looks maybe a little more promising than the old Showtime. But yeah, we should say, this thing's called The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and it's coming out on the Switch in September, late September 2024.
Yeah, it's really, like, I think maybe it was my expectations being low. I didn't see that tweet from a Nintendo employee, but for some reason I really was like, I don't expect anything out of this. I don't think we're going to get anything Metroid. Yeah. Our beloved Twilight Princess Wind Waker HD.
I really thought that was going to be it. Yeah.
We see that. I had a buddy, shout out to my friend
they
Aaron.
Have bankrupted those games to heaven.
Yeah. He texted me. He was so upset because he was like, I love Donkey Kong Country, but we're getting Donkey Kong Country before we get Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. But yeah, I mean, the game, this was a huge surprise for me. It was nice to see Onuma. I will say I'm worried about the gameplay a little in the sense of like, it looks like you build up a bank of things, right? Because my fear is like, I need a table. I got to go find a table.
Well, you should explain how this works. Yeah. So you have a little buddy called Tri, and you have a Tri Rod, of course. Yeah. And you can create echoes of objects by basically saving any object in the game, and then you can drop it to help solve puzzles and stuff. So you're just worried about like the inventory or the UI of trying to like, navigate all these objects?
Yeah, like I don't want to, but it doesn't look like watching the gameplay. I haven't been able to like rewatch it too closely, but it looks like you have almost like a Breath or Tears of the Kingdom style bank of like just a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
that you can need time. Because what I don't want is to be in the northeast part of the map and be like, I need a trampoline. I think the last time I saw trampoline was in like the southwest,
right? And
I gotta go get a trampoline. But it doesn't. I don't think that's what it is.
No, my impression was like you get a table, you can just make tables, and the like the cool
forever.
Thing, the really interesting thing about this is it's like it's got the the kind of their version of HD 2D, the nice looking isometric art style, and so you're expecting kind of a normal Zelda thing, but like the gameplay looks like they are trying to make it more Breath of the Wildy in that it's like experimental, and it looks like there are a lot of potential solutions to any given puzzle, and it's just the idea of like there being a cliff and the player stacking up like 3 beds and then a trampoline to do it feels like you're kind of like breaking the game.
Right.
And so the idea that that's the intended way of playing and that's what they're showing off is, again, it's like they're loosening the Zelda formula in really interesting ways. And like Tears of the Kingdom was one version of like, can we let the player completely break the game and still have it be fun? And this is kind of seems like an interesting other take on that.
Yeah, maybe we can break the game. We can put a big dent in it or something this time around.
I feel like it's kind of, it remains to be seen depending on the dungeons and stuff, but to me it looks like they're really trying to marry the two like Zelda camps.
Yeah.
The like creative, game-breaking stuff of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and like all the classic stuff. That being said, I do wish Zelda could swing a sword. But, it feels like...
Yeah, I hear you. It's a funny thing. Like,
also, like
yeah, it's like Zelda's playable is such a huge thing. People have been asking for it for so long. That's great. I don't want some asterisk on this. I don't want to be like, yeah, they did it, but it wasn't like full Hyrule Warriors level Zelda. I want Zelda to kick ass. It's like, it's cool. You can like throw rocks and you can recruit enemies by making echoes of them, which I'm most excited about that. I think that sounds fun to have like Zelda as this monster tamer out there and stuff. But I don't want some asterisk. I want this to be the Zelda playable game. And I hope that the puzzle design is so good that no one's going to be like, yeah, but
what if a third of the way through, you get the ability to turn into Sheik, and then you can like do combat as Sheik.
Oh, now if they don't do that, this game's gonna be trash.
See, now I'm disappointed by this game.
Yeah.
I'll shout out to Charles Hart who caught this because he messaged me to confirm. But there's also stuff like there are the two different types of Zora in the game. There's like modern Zora, but then there's also like SNES era Zora, and there's like a scene where you see them like looking at each other and like seemingly having a conversation, which is like real. I'm like into that kind of stuff, man. That's like some weird like Klingons and Star Trek kind of thing where it's like, maybe you guys, I don't know if you know this, but there's like weird generations of, sometimes they have like the weird heads in Star Trek, and in the past they did, and they try to reconcile that in the fiction. And like I would love some touching on that of like, yeah, the Zora used to look way different. We used to look like monsters, but now we're like sleek and cool.
Yeah, it's more of like a Sonic Generations appeal, I think, than Star Trek of like how we're different things slamming in here. No, it is. You're right. It is fun just to have all these different worlds and philosophies combined, and like, I popped seeing like the side view, the 2D perspective from Link's Awakening for like the caves and stuff, but like seeing Zelda swim around in that side perspective seems so cool. Hopefully the frame rate's better than the Link's Awakening remake on Switch. It still is a weird ding for Nintendo here overall.
Yeah, and this looks more ambitious visually. I mean, it's like they give her a Breath of the Wild moment where like she like in the beginning of the trailer she like runs out onto a big cliff and you're like looking at a lot of the world. And when I saw that, I thought, can the Switch do that?
It's such a bad
weirdly
sign.
Link's Awakening runs worse than the Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
that is weird.
Did you get anything out of that shot of Hyrule, Kyle? Because the weird thing is Link's Awakening leads right into Link to the Past. So the whole Zelda timeline thing, I understand is messy, but just because it's in the Link's Awakening style, do you think it's going to be connected to that Link to the Past, Link's Awakening duo?
I think so. Yeah, maybe. I guess, I don't know. I do like the Zelda timeline. I think it's fun, but I usually just like, I am in a weird camp of like, I'll just see like kind of where it ends up. I'm not really I don't really go too hard on like trying to look at trailers and predict what does this mean for the Zelda timeline, because I don't think Nintendo really cares about that. I think they just want to make a cool game, and then the sort of the connective tissue is just sort of fun stuff that they add, after the fact.
Yeah, you don't want to be too interesting for the internet. I get it.
Yeah, I get it. I just don't. I mean, I don't know. So many people like people would send me Tears of the Kingdom theorizing videos and stuff, and my reaction was always like, I think you guys are getting way too ahead of yourself. And I mean, they were. It's like, it's a very singular story that happens to have some ties to Breath of the Wild, is kind of what it is. And I imagine this will be similar, where it's like there's probably going to be ties specifically to Link's Awakening, but it's not going to be very overt.
Yeah. Kelsey, was other than Zelda the most exciting thing for you that weird Danganronpa style game?
Oh yeah, I am interested in that. I don't know. I don't know how to rank there were so many like weird looking JRPG or JRPG-esque things in this. I don't really know where I stand with all of them, but no, the second most exciting thing to me was the weird, what was it called? Like something Dan Man or whatever.
We were out of our mind.
It was the thing
it.
where they looked like Mii's.
Yes.
Where they were all wearing like little outfits.
Yeah. What the hell was the name of that freaky thing?
Was it Mio?
No, it wasn't Mio.
No, Mio looked really cool though.
It did, for sure. Is it even? Oh, here we go. The new Denpa Men is the name of this game.
Thank you.
Yeah, it feels like a weird throwback made by Genius Sonority. Why do I know that name? What did they make before? Genius Sonority. But yeah, you just thought it was like a Miitopia style thing.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a Utopia or a Tomodachi Life kind of weird. Like, I love when Nintendo does some absolutely unhinged stuff like that. I think that's where a lot of the really fun ideas get to shine. It looks like they did a lot of the Pokemon spin-off games.
Right.
Weirdly.
Yeah, Pokemon Cafe Mix, Pokemon Coliseum, XD, Gale of Darkness.
Pokemon Trozy.
I actually bought Tomodachi Life recently. Like in the last year, I went and got a copy on eBay because my daughter was really interested in it because she loves Miitopia.
Yeah.
And I had to track down a 3DS and charge it up for her so she could play it, but she got really into it.
It's good fun.
It was especially really fun when you had a lot of my friends were playing it. So that game is a really weird experience when you like have a lot of other people playing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what this thing is going to be like. Although it looks like there was something called the Denpa Men that they've made in the past. Just looking at Wikipedia, it must be a Japan-only thing.
I think it's like an iOS thing, but it's fun to see. It feels like an earlier, weirder version of Nintendo. Like we're watching it, it's like it feels like it should have been like a 64 DD game that never came to the States or something, which is
absolutely
good Nintendo era in my mind. So that's the new Denpa Men. You can look forward to that. My biggest surprise, maybe, there's a lot of them in this whole thing, but look, I know this sounds hyperbolic, but genuinely, there was nothing I wanted more in this moment in my life than Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. That announcement is so specific because, like, for me, this has been the summer of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like, I just spent all weekend playing this game with my nephew. We have like the arcade 1-up cabinet, and it's been so much fun. But literally, I was just thinking about like, God, what I need to do to get better at Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is I need a training room, and the arcade cabinet doesn't have like a training room for this. I need a danger room. And so I was like, could I just get the Dreamcast version of the game so I can have that like training tutorial room, and then I could emulate that and then hook up my arcade sticks for the PC to that so I can just train in a stream in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. What am I going to do? How am I going to get better at this game? And then Nintendo, of all places, comes around and says, hey, nope, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is coming to the Switch. It's also coming to Steam and PlayStation later this year. And it was just so fun then to have like, oh, now here's a real console way that I can play Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And they added the training room and stuff, or they have the training room from the versions of the game, unlike the arcade version. And they have a bunch of other online features and stuff like that if you want. But like, literally, I have spent the last several weeks for the weekends, like playing this game with my nephews and singing "Gonna Take You for a Ride," like da 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 da. Like that song, we have literally been singing to each other the entire summer so far. So to have Nintendo and Nintendo Direct be like, "Hey, we're ready to take you for a ride," is like just the perfect timing for this thing. Except I want it right now, and I'm sick of their ambiguous 2024 date for this collection of Marvel vs. Capcom fighting games. But they're going to be so damn fun to play on the Switch.
They also did Perfect Dark for you. That was real sweet.
That is true. Yeah, you know what? Everything's coming up me. This is all right. Yeah, so Perfect Dark coming to Nintendo Switch Online. Unfortunately, it's part of their dark, edgy label of 17 plus, and I don't think my mommy's going to let me check out these cool Nintendo Switch games online. But it is exciting. Okay. Oh, hang on, Jacob. Hang on. I got 14 more minutes to talk about Perfect Dark. So, no, I'm excited for it. And some people were like, well, the Perfect Dark remake for 360, it's already on Game Pass. And that's true. That's a great way to play the game if you want more modern controls. Totally get it. The controls for GoldenEye on the Switch Online thing were brutal. However, this version still has stuff that wasn't in the 360 version, like specifically for customizing your character in Perfect Dark. Only the N64 version lets you swap the head with the body. So you can put like wacky alien head on human body or vice versa, which is very silly and fun. And Kyle, we should be very into this and we should be happy because this means that Andrew Reiner has made it to the Nintendo Switch because this version of Perfect Dark has our old boss, Andrew Reiner, as a head in it. And they stripped him out of the 360 release. They were scared of the Reiner truth, but now we're all here. So it's going to be sweet.
And I still think they should find some way to put your own head on the characters because that was a planned thing. That was a planned feature of that N64 version that got scrapped.
Did they ever show screenshots of that? So it was like the Game Boy camera. You're supposed to be able to take a picture.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember if it was Game Boy. It must have been Game Boy camera.
I think it was.
There was a camera thing for the 64 DD that was, bunch of nonsense that we never really got here. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you would do it. Maybe just through the Nintendo Switch Online app, that horrible thing that no one uses, and take a photo with your cell phone. I don't know, but
it's always a hilarious disaster. I remember trying to put my face in like Tony Hawk on my PSP, I think, and it was just like it just looked awful.
What are you doing? Yeah, the NBA games.
Fun. It's not supposed to look good. It's supposed to look hilarious.
Yeah. Let's see. Anything else that popped for anybody else you want to talk about?
Yeah, what the fuck are we doing? They showed Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Let's talk about the cell phone camera app console.
Sorry, we're interested in context.
I still talk about Farmagia. Come on.
Yeah. All right. Metroid Prime 4. They closed out the show with this big thing. Jacob Keller. Yeah. What'd you think?
They showed it is so weird that this game is coming out at the end of the console's life, which I guess, you know what, I'm like, is this going to be cross-platform?
Yeah.
Is it going to be on the Switch too? I think it looked great. What they were showing weirdly looked like, it almost looked like Titanfall levels, like the amount of like...
Yeah.
Just like you're going up and there are like explosions everywhere and there are like turrets shooting at enemies. You know, it was a pretty short trailer. And so they did not show a lot of kind of classically Metroid gameplay. It was not showing like there's exploration other than like you can turn into a morph ball or whatever.
Right. There's like one shot of the environment where it's like, okay, implying this is a type of area we're going to be exploring.
Yeah. Well, they show this giant shot of the environment that looks like Pandora. Mm-hmm. Like it looks like it takes place on Avatar World. But I just like, I don't, just the fact that we saw gameplay of Metroid Prime 4 is, that's it. There could have been nothing else in this presentation, and I would have been like, well, I guess it was a good one.
Well, unfortunately, they made it clear they didn't show gameplay of Metroid Prime 4. They showed gameplay of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. The official name now.
It was funny when Zelda concluded. I was like, that wasn't their one last thing? Like,
right.
That actually is at the point where I was like, actually, I think we're going to get something really exciting here at the end, Yeah, it looks great. I do wonder if it's going to be like a Twilight Princess Breath of the Wild style dual play. I thought I was onto something because he never said like coming to Nintendo Switch in 2025. And I was like, I think they intentionally avoided it. But then you pull up the official YouTube video and it's like, Nintendo Switch coming to Switch in 2025. I thought maybe they hadn't set a platform intentionally, but they're committed to Switch at this point.
Yeah. It certainly wasn't like they were showing the next gen footage of this thing or anything. But yeah, so
looked good, but it didn't look like impossible on Switch kind of.
Yeah, I was surprised that there was as much 2025 because I think in our minds we see like a hard stop date to all this stuff because the Switch 2 is coming presumably March 2025.
That just makes me think that it's going to be backwards compatible though.
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo almost always does that anyways, but that feels like, I don't know, like some amount of proof that it's going to happen again.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, it's cool to see. It's weird now with like no spoilers for the end of Metroid Dread, but Metroid's in such a weird spot lore-wise, but that's like the furthest part of the timeline, and now we're jumping back presumably for Metroid Prime 4, so it's not touching on where that game ends.
Is this going to be like after 3? Like is that just where it picks up?
Well, what the hell do I know?
Could mean anything. Beyond could mean post.
Yeah, I mean they weirdly show a kind of spooky looking antagonist that has like Metroids floating around him, which usually I feel like Metroid villains aren't just like a guy in armor. And so it's interesting that this is like a guy in armor, and he's got Metroids. And it's like they keep having
Could be
to
a
figure
lady
out.
in armor. You don't
That's
know.
true.
I think it's going to
Lady in
be,
armor.
yeah, they'll tease that. That's going to be a big reveal when that person takes their helmet off, I'm sure.
Yeah, but they keep having to figure out ways that there are still Metroids because Samus ostensibly like destroys all the Metroids at the end of like every game. So maybe
We have to keep calling it Metroid. So
yeah.
Sometimes it's just residue on her armor that they scrape off and clone, and that's it. That's the story.
just
Yeah, but
start
it is
calling it no more Metroid.
it is just like in this Nintendo Direct, which was not bad. A lot of the games were not for me because they're just so... It just kind of feels like watching this. It's like, I guess Nintendo's identity is mostly like RPGs now, just based on like what they're showing. And then to just have this like futuristic gun game, it really is like, oh yeah, this is different than like everything else they make. Like they do not have other franchises. You know, they have other franchises that are kind of like 2D Metroid in that they're like interesting platformers, but like there ain't no other Metroid Primes. There are no Nintendo first person shooters.
Yeah. Chat, by the way, has told us all that we're fake Metroid fans. They're totally right. That person certainly looks like they have the same helmet as Silux, who's a bounty hunter who appeared in Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS. And so
I actually had the thought that looks like some Hunter's design, but I'm sure they wouldn't need us to understand the lore of Hunters.
yeah, the fact that it's,
Maybe they will.
the Switch 2 presumably will be backwards compatible will help, I think, with this. But I worried a little bit seeing that 2025 release date of like, is this going to be another situation where, the Switch came out and then they released Metroid 2's remake on the 3DS, and everyone's like, I don't want to play that. I have a Switch now. And so I worry about if there's like, hey, there's going to be some great looking new Mario game at the launch of the Switch 2 or whatever. And then this comes out. It's like, I don't want to play Metroid Prime 4 because that's totally last gen,
And I was thinking watching this, there are some Nintendo games where it's like, I don't need more hardware for this. Like this looks great. This one I felt was like, if you could give it if you could give that geometry a little more detail, I wouldn't hate it, so maybe, but also it would be weird for them. I don't know if they would show gameplay that they would later be like, that was on the Switch 2. If they feel like they have to show Switch gameplay and then later they can be like, oh, and this one will run at 1080.
Right. But super exciting to finally see it. That's been so long coming. Good Lord. New Mario Party looks awesome. The biggest yet. They have like a whole weird Fall Guys mode in there for 20 players online, which should be fun and silly. And there was much rejoicing around the world for this thing.
I was very happy to see Donkey Kong Country returns. Like I'm just happy to have that on Switch alongside Tropical Freeze. I love that game. It was one of those ones that weirdly, like maybe forgot about is not the right term, but I was just like, well, they got Tropical Freeze on there, so they don't need to bring Donkey Kong Country forward.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that's weird that it's not on the Switch. I guess I would have assumed they would have ported it at some point, but no, this is the 2010 platformer, which is awesome. It'd be great to have it on there. And that's another one that's in 2025. It's January of 2025 for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD for this whole thing. But what was the other freaky thing you want to talk about, Kelsey?
Oh, weird Farmagia game.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like you grow monsters in corn and you harvest your monsters from the plant. So then I can't understand what's going on in this game. It looks kind of bad, but in like a very fun way.
Right. Yeah. Maybe in a way that Harvestella didn't quite hit that old Square Enix joint. That it was kind of that same avenue. Like, you like farming. What if we had a little more action in your farming game? But in this one, well, you're in the world called Felicidad. So it's got to be a pretty cool, joyous game here. But then, yeah, they were trying to pack a lot of like strategy in that trailer and showing like, look, if you get the weakness here, you can do this. Like this, I appreciate them trying to squeeze in as much UI as possible to try and convince us that like, no, this farming game with combat and picking dog out of your corn, it's actually going to be really in depth. You should be looking forward to it.
I think that's all it is I've never seen anyone do a monster battler game like this where it's like, and you farm the animals, but they grow on stalks like some kind of weird vegetable that turns into a dog.
What's that Pokemon-esque game that was in early access for a while where you would have dance battles?
Oh,
Is it Cassette Beasts?
no, before the
No.
3D one. I know exactly what you're talking about, Kyle. Temtem?
No, am I Ooblets?
Ooblets. Yes.
Yeah. You grew your creatures in Ooblets, didn't you?
I don't remember.
Don't those guys like look like vegetables though?
Maybe that's where I'm.
They
Maybe
do.
I just
They
think
look like vegetables.
Yeah, maybe that's where I'm.
They don't look like real
I mean,
cool
maybe
dogs.
you do grow them, but I feel like if it's a carrot that's fighting, like it makes sense to grow it like a carrot, but not. You don't grow dogs like that typically.
That's true. That's true.
Kyle, did you squeal in your seat when you saw the old company you used to work for, Game Mill, is making a Looney Tunes game?
I completely missed that. I could have. I was A, writing a Mario and Luigi story, and B, like glanced up and it was like Looney Tunes basketball. I will not play that.
God, Kyle, you need to defend Game Mill, a Minnesota company, a proud Minnesota company. What if you had your favorite Looney Tunes characters, but they look like butt and like they were running at 440p? Aren't you interested then? No, it seems right. But thank God we had Kelsey on the reaction stream to be like, well, it's called Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports, which is a throwback to a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, there was Looney Tunes basketball on the Super Nintendo, and then also Tiny Toons Wacky World of Sports that kind of got them crossed all over. They're both on the Super Nintendo. I've never, like, in my entire time working in retro games, I've never had anyone be like, "Oh my God, you know what I miss? Looney Tunes basketball, Tiny Toon Wacky World of Sports." They're kind of uncommon games. I've never heard anyone like reference them ever.
Okay, well, you just wait. This is going to be Game Mill's hottest selling game when Looney Tunes releases.
Wait, also Looney Tunes basketball came out before Space Jam?
It was the first successful video game adaptation, I think, for Looney Tunes
That is
basketball.
crazy. Space Jam came out in 1996. Looney Tunes basketball came out in 1995.
Oh, Prime and the Pump.
Weird.
That's why Space Jam wasn't a weird film to anybody when it released. We all said, yeah, this is completely normal
Just
cinema.
like that Super Nintendo game
Yeah.
that we're all playing.
Exactly. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff. It was cool seeing Lego Horizon Adventures in a Nintendo Direct. Like, it's fun to hear Nintendo try and message Horizon to be like, it's the first game that you all know in the world of Horizon. It's like, they were so weird to dance around. Like, we can't just say it's a PlayStation franchise, but that's cool that we have it. But a ton of stuff in there. You can check out our reaction stream for anything else. Let's get to this biggie. Kyle, can we talk about Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree?
Yeah, Erdtree.
Erdtree.
As some mean bully called it earlier.
That's disgusting. Okay, how much have you played of Shadow of the Erdtree?
I think I'm not even halfway. I think I'm probably like 30, maybe 40%. I've fought like 3 major memorable bosses and maybe some little ones in caverns that I found and stuff like that.
Okay, and the reviews just had, I really haven't seen anything about the reaction for this game yet, but Jacob, if you could summarize the reviews so far, how they're looking out there?
I've actually been staying clear and like not playing it because I'm leading the deepest dive on it, and I thought that was the deal: is we don't play or look at the games if we're on the deepest dive.
Welcome to passive aggressive Jacob Geller, Kyle Hilliard. Perhaps you should sit down and have a word with him.
I'm sorry, I didn't know I'd screwed this up. I mean, because in terms of deepest dive, from games take me forever. Like I figured whatever timelines we set aside for ourselves, like I need to like get started now.
Sure.
Like, I spent like 3 hours fighting a boss last night.
Well, that's just the experience. But what do you think of it, Kyle? How's it treating you?
I mean, I really like it. It's not changing my opinion on Elden Ring in any way, and I don't really get the feeling of like, this is what, Elden Ring has been a test run to get to this DLC, right? It's a boring take that a lot of people are offering, but it's more Elden Ring. And it's good for that reason. I do appreciate, especially in the sense of like coming back to Elden Ring after being away for a couple of years, and it is a confusing game. I'm like having to relearn a lot of stuff. It is nice to have this just basically giant chunk like set aside. Like, it is pretty separate from the lands between. Yeah.
So how does it work? What do I need to jump into this thing?
You need to have defeated Mohg, I believe, Mohg, who is like, I mean, you can Google how to get there. I had to kind of like remember where that was, and I was in my New Game Plus game where I hadn't beaten that boss again. So like before, like a week or two ago, I went and like beat that boss again. And then when I installed the DLC, there's like a character in that boss area. It's like the egg with like the arm outside of it.
I beat
there's
them.
Like a character there now who you can talk to, and then you will teleport somewhere entirely new. And basically the DLC takes place entirely there. I haven't even really come back to that, the table zone where you can like upgrade your weapons and stuff like that.
Right.
I haven't even really been going back there very much, but that's mostly a matter of laziness because I'm pretty happy with all my equipment and levels and stuff like that.
So do you know, and this is one of those things where it's like the game wouldn't tell you, so you just have to figure it out. But like traditionally, New Game Plus, including in Elden Ring, the enemies get harder. So you're playing the DLC in New Game Plus mode. Do you know if like they've stepped the difficulty up, or is it? Have you had the feeling like this could be easier?
No. The difficulty feels pretty good. I haven't been like overwhelmed. I've hit walls. I've had trouble with bosses. I've had areas where I've died a lot, but nothing feels excessive. But I do consider myself like very high level. Like I am very high level, and I put like a ton of my experience and points like into my damage output. So like I and that's just kind of how I like playing it. But even in New Game Plus, I haven't felt like, oh, this is hard mode. Like I'm not playing this DLC and being like, I was woefully unprepared. Like this feels pretty on par with the rest of the game, which I'm very happy about. That's what I wanted. I didn't want a crazy challenging gauntlet, and I haven't found that yet.
That's really nice to hear.
I've been really curious about it because like Moog is a late game boss. It's like in Elden Ring. And I think they released an infographic. You also have to have killed Radahn, which you probably will have done like way earlier in the game. But like Moog gives you like 250,000 souls when you kill him, which is like at that point you're kind of supposed to be like level 100 or something for that to be like a normal
I'm like
amount
level
of souls.
180, 89, I think.
And so obviously in New Game Plus also the amount of souls that you get pumped up. But yeah, it is just like it has been I started a new character and have like played up to that point over the past month because I was scared about like jumping into Elden Ring in this DLC, which they seem to be positioning as like, this is what you should play when you're basically ready to beat the game. Instead, you can play this. Like that is intimidating. That's not like a start fresh after 2 years and we'll ease you back into it.
Yeah, it worked out well for me because that area where is it Moog? Is that how it's pronounced? Wrong. That whole area, the run up to him and then that boss fight, I had to like redo that whole area, and that was like the perfect like get your feet back under you. This is how it works, because that took me like 2 or 3 hours or something like that to make my way there and do that boss fight. So that's actually like a recommendation for me if you want to play and you haven't beat Mog yet, like go do that now, and that will get your sort of feet back under you, I think.
Yeah. So there's an interview with PC Gamer that I enjoyed where they're talking to Miyazaki, and Miyazaki said, "I enjoy making a stew because the more you cook something down, the more it boils down, the more it releases the flavor. You can't really get it wrong with the ingredients. You just keep adding, keep boiling, and it gets richer and richer. I think this was my approach in general to Elden Ring. Shadow of the Erdtree is spicy, but it looks extremely appetizing. It's glowing from the bowl and makes you think, maybe I could eat this one, even if I'm not such a fan of spicy food." So Miyazaki, the greatest marketing interview you could ever do is, hey, I'm making a delicious stew. It's going to boil down to be spicy, but not too spicy. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean that's how wow, he nailed it. That's like it's not too spicy, and maybe it does hit that point.
I'm sure.
Maybe I'm not as far as I think I am. There's certainly been at least one boss that I've been like, well, I'll deal with you much later, and I just left.
Right, right.
Have you, you say you're not even halfway through. Have you got a sense of the size? Because he said it's about the size of Limgrave, and I thought when that was said, that sounds like it's underselling it. Like they would not spend 2 years making something that is merely the size of Limgrave.
What is the like in the first big castle? We talked about this like when Elden Ring came out, Jacob. But like the first big castle you go through, Stormvale. Like it almost feels like, oh, this is a Dark Souls game right here. You know, like I have hit two castles that are like about that size, maybe not quite as big, but like, you know, thereabouts.
Yeah.
And that's like, and like I said, I think I feel like I'm maybe, it's tough to say with these games, but I feel like I'm maybe about halfway, maybe a little less than halfway. So I don't know if that gives you some sense of like, I've hit 2 of those kind of areas. There's probably 2 or 3 more. There's a lot of real estate in between those big castles.
Yeah,
so
it's still got like little caves that you can wander into, and there's like a, you know, mini sequence and then a boss there.
Yep, I found at least one of those. Yeah.
That's sweet. Okay, so more Elden Ring, and that's a glorious, glorious thing to experience in 2024 here.
Yeah, and it's nice. I do like how segmented off to the side it is.
Right.
Like I actually kind of appreciate that it's not integrated into the world, because then I feel like I would get a little lost or intimidated and end up in places where I'm like, wait, is this part of it or not? But it's like, no, this is very much like, here's a little miniature version of Elden Ring off to the side. That's very fun to explore, and it looks really cool if you can imagine that.
I can't imagine, and we will. So we will be talking about Shadow of the Erdtree in a much bigger way. I'd say a very, very deep way. Some would say the deepest way, because it is what we're doing next for The Deepest Dive, which is the best, most thorough discussion about games on the internet.
Ben, I love that tagline. It is objectively incorrect with Erdtree. Body Video is going to make a 6-hour video on this thing.
It'll be a pretty good analysis and discussion about Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. And so Jacob Geller, Kyle Hilliard, Sarah Podzorski, and special guest will be joining us for the deepest dive on Shadow of the Erdtree. And that's going to be kicking off next week. Early next week, Jacob? Is that the timeline we're looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the idea, because we don't know the course of the game, and we do know that it's not divided into like chapter 1.
Right.
And so the way that we're doing it is basically like, hey, what's happened to you over the 4 days that you've been playing it so far? Write in and tell us.
Yep.
And people will go all sorts of places and do all sorts of things. And then later we'll come back and be like, all right, now that we've really all played it, let's talk about the spoiler stuff.
By the way, that's the reason I kind of just went ahead and jumped in, because it's a little more loosey-goosey, right?
You should have cleared it with Jacob, bro. You should have cleared it with Jacob.
I'm sorry.
No, it's just the thing is,
it's okay.
No, it's just Jacob is right in that he doesn't want a lot of like, you think that boss is tough. Just wait. I know you're not that type of guy, Kyle, but it's the worst thing to hear when you're like just jumping in. So yes, the way this works,
and also I'm not the biggest Elden Ring lore guy, so like I couldn't even spoil things for you.
All right, you're fine. You're fine. You're in the clear. Okay. So to tune in for the biggest Elden Ring lore guy, for the deepest dive on Elden Ring, listen to Kyle Hilliard in that discussion. So it's going to be on MinnMax's YouTube channel and in our bonus podcast feed. So if you support MinnMax at the $5 tier on Patreon, even just for 1 month, totally fine, you'll unlock the podcast version of The Deepest Dive, which is going to be a huge discussion. 2-part discussion, like Jacob said. First one covering just basically your first weekend in Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, first impressions, where you went, what you did, all that stuff. And then so that we don't have to guide you along the way, we will be back about a month later to talk about everything in the game for the grand finale of The Deepest Dive on Shadow of the Erdtree. And everybody out there, I do hear you, and I love... Look, I know parasocial stuff gets weird, and so I will never say that we're actually your friends or that we actually love you. However, I do love when people message me and they say, could you do a retro game for Deepest Dive next? I hear that. I feel that. I totally get it. We will be doing retro Deepest Dives in the future, but this is the best way to unpack Shadow of the Erdtree. So I hope you join us for the journey. If you support us at even that $2 tier on Patreon, you can submit your thoughts and you can hear Jacob Geller's beautiful voice read off your comments on Shadow of the Erdtree. If that idea of hearing Jacob read your comments about Elden Ring on air is worth $2, I think it should be. You can jump in, patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Kyle, thank you so much. You have to go because you need to go play more Elden Ring so you can spoil it later for the first episode of The Deepest Dive. Does that sound good?
Yeah, Jacob, I'll DM you, screenshot. Sounds good. Okay.
Awesome. All right, thanks for being here, Kyle.
Oh, I should clap, huh?
If you want. Janet Garcia, welcome to the show.
Hello.
How you feeling?
Good.
You feel like Summer Game Fest was a mystical dream that happened in the past at this point?
A little bit. I feel like people have been asking me, like, how was it? And I'm like, it was good. And I'm like, watch the vlog. You know,
That's exactly it.
It's tough to, I think, synthesize like the all of that long weekend into something easily consumable. But you did it with our 1 hour vlog, you know, always be plugging. But genuinely, I mean, that's a good way to like kind of look at it. But it was fun. It was a good time. It was a blur, and I'll see you next year. I'm excited, looking forward to it. Let's go.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
I watched the blog while making dinner the other night, and it was great. Charles is a damn delight on that thing.
Yeah.
I loved his sections of it so much.
I know. We talked about it on Bonus
He really
Pod.
carried us in the vlog,
Oh,
honestly.
big time. We talked about it in Bonus Pod this week where we unpacked, this is our Patreon exclusive podcast at the $5 tier, but there we also talked about like every other game that we demoed and more Summer Game Fest stuff. But like, yeah, what a godsend. The fact that like he was silly and goofy and lighthearted and so likable throughout that entire thing to be the quote unquote main character of our travelogue. Like, oh, thank God you're eager to see him every time he pops up. It's not like, oh, this waste lug that we're carrying along. But no, he did such a great job. It was so fun just to see like the jokes that he was going for with the travelogue format and stuff. Like you couldn't ask for better. So thanks for all the kind words on that. Was there any surprises in that travelogue, Jacob? Things from the event you didn't expect?
I don't know. I always liked just like seeing people is so fun. The thing where you guys ran into like Sam Barlow and Manon Gage, and I was just like, I know. I mean, because they look more like, at least she does, like, oh, she's actually a person out of a video game. You know, all the rest of this is like graphics, but like I played a video game and I saw her.
Yeah, it's weird. All right. Hey, speaking of playing video games, Steam Next Fest was going on this last weekend. A ton of games out there. Hey, check out demos for absolutely everything under the sun. And Janet and Jacob jumped in there and played some good stuff that we can roll through here for fun stuff on the horizon. It's not all Nintendo stuff and rainbows, everybody. For example, this game, I Am Your Beast. Shall we start there?
Yeah.
All right. This is Strange Scaffold from the developers of El Paso Elsewhere, one of Jacob's favorite games from, God, not that long ago. When did that game come out?
Last year.
God, okay. And so what is the angle for I Am Your Beast?
Well, so I'll say, first of all, El Paso Elsewhere, a really cool game.
Yeah, it's not one of Jacob's favorite games.
I did not actually, I thought the gameplay of that was like pretty weak, and what kept me going through it was like really cool style, really great vocal performances.
Right.
And
Yeah, it wasn't in your top 10, right?
No.
Not just that, but you specifically said you didn't even want it in like the honorable mentions.
I just got annoyed by the end of it. You know,
I think that's valid. It's just funny that Ben took from that one of Jacob's favorite games.
Well, you were hot about it, but
you know, I had it in like
certain
best
things
characters. Yeah.
Right.
But this is, so I Am Your Beast seems like it is everything that I kind of wanted from that, which is like, you've still got great style, great music. Xalavir, I think, is still voicing the main character, and like his...
Oh, that's Xalavir talking? Jeez.
Yeah, his voice is so cool and like understated, and just like the way that he does voiceover for these characters is really like unique, and it was my favorite thing about El Paso Elsewhere. But basically, I feel like the pitch of this is it's almost like it feels like it has a lot in common with Neon White, in that it is a like very small arena-based speed-running first-person shooter, where basically they're are 5 guys in a level, and you can, you know, punch them, you can kick them, you can take their weapons and shoot them, but you can also throw the weapons at them, and you can do all this different stuff. And like the goal of each level is like, okay, you can finish it, but can you do it fast? How efficient can you get with this? And like the reason that I knew I was locked into this game is like I was going for S ranks in the demo, you know, and usually I think of demos as just like, this will give me a taste, and then when the real game comes out, I'll try to get good at it. But like I just couldn't stop playing. It's so fast and so fun. Nice.
You play it too, Janet?
Yeah, I play a lot slower. I was not going for S rank, but it is still very fun. Like I think what's entertaining about that speedrun laning format is it really allows for people who just want to complete the level, and also people that want to go for S tier, and also people that just want to beat their own time, beat their friends' time. I think it creates a lot of variance that lets people kind of choose their own implied difficulty, which I think is always like a really interesting format. But yeah, very stylish. If you're a fan of fonts, some good fonts in the game. Like, I love a good font in a video game. Like, that's one of my favorite things about like Control, Alan Wake. Like, just, I think I really appreciate too when there's all those extra details. So I think easily like the gameplay is sound and fun enough to sort of stand on its own. But the fact that it kind of has a really interesting like opening that leans very narrative, but then also provides a tutorial. I think things like that feel really fresh and creative and cohesive. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time with it, even though I'm not like the first person you think of when you think of FPSs, but I think it's approachable enough that like you by no means need to be like a master at FPSs to play this, because again, the way to beat it is like pretty simple. Like, I was able to beat it after like a few attempts, and the only reason it took me that long too is just because I'm not used to mouse and keyboard. So like trying to run, I'm like, am I sprinting? Not quite. But it's super fun in that you can just sort of pick up different weapons and, you know, empty a clip, toss it out, kind of go back and forth. But it's like a little bit of like almost parkouring on tree branches as well. Like, it's just really fun hunting down the military industrial complex, which is also a positive to like this very like fun, interesting art style, and kind of a quick hit, where I feel like it's the kind of game where you keep going through those runs, and then before you know it, it's like, oh, the game's done, or like I finished this section, or, you know, I've hit credits. I'm really excited for the full playthrough of this when it comes out, which is soon, August.
Yeah, August 15th, 2024 for I Am Your Beast here.
They are making games quickly, because they also have like another, what's their other one in development that's like,
I don't know what's in development, but they just came out with Life Eater. So Strange Scaffold, which is Xavier Nelson's studio, recently signed a publishing deal with Frosty Pop. So all their games are currently being co-published. And that deal, I believe, was for, I want to say 6 games. I looked it up yesterday, but I might be off by 1 game. But they've already put out, because I believe Life Eater was within that Frosty Pop deal. So this will be the second game, I think. So they're really cranking through. I know Xavier, I forgot where, like if it was a podcast, a formal talk, but he recently gave like a talk or a piece of content on like how to make 3 or 5 games at once. Like how are you making all these games?
I am very interested in that.
Having like a huge social media presence as well. Like Xavier runs like, I don't know if it's his TikTok or the studio's TikTok, but he's like constantly posting about it. This is also like one of the top games from Next Fest. So the demo is still up. Like he was emailed to like, please leave your demo up. It was like one of the top ones played and all that. So if you want to play it, there's still time to check it out.
Cool.
Because yeah, I think there's a lot of funky swings and content coming out of Strange Scaffold, but because so many of their projects are different, I do think it warrants going back to. Like, this is the first Strange Scaffold game I played, just because frankly, a lot of the other ones, like, I just haven't gotten a good sense that like I'd enjoy them. But now I'm like, maybe I should go back and check out what else they have. But yeah, it's cool seeing just different swings from a studio weirdly quickly.
Yeah, for sure. The other game that Jacob was checking out is I booted it up and it said it's a 3D platformer where you kill rich people with a big sniper rifle. And I was like, this isn't for me. This is a Jacob game.
I tried playing this and I was confused by what this game was, Jacob. Tell me what
y'all are missing out.
So it's called 500.
I feel like I am. I couldn't find who I had to kill.
Yeah, 500 Caliber Contractz is the name of this
with a
thing.
Z. Contracts with a Z.
Yes.
So there are kind of like 2 different pieces of the pitch for this game, where a game where you kill rich people with a sniper rifle sounds like, I don't know, you're playing Hitman or you're playing a shooter. It's not that. It is a mobility-based platformer where most of your mobility comes from your giant gun. So you're a character who's holding this big sniper rifle, but then like the movement controls include like, if you're jumping and you shoot the sniper rifle down, you will go up. And if you're like running and you shoot it behind you, you'll go faster. And
is this
so
like my friend Pedro? Like wasn't that kind of like that?
Except it's 3D and like good.
Wow.
But
it's also, this is better than my friend Pedro. Note to self: do not play my friend Pedro because
playing it feels like when you watch a Mario 64 speed run and their entire run is made up of like linked like dives and dashes in a way that it feels like they're almost not touching the ground.
That sounds awesome.
And like this facilitates it way more than Mario 64, where you have to like be good to do that stuff. But it still is like the controls are weird enough that it's really rewarding to get better at them because they don't make it super easy to do all of this stuff. Like I played this demo for a long time and it's one level, but most of that was just figuring out like, okay, if I do like a pole vault with the sniper rifle and then I shoot it when I'm at like the tip of the pole vault, then I'll like go up really high. And then you can like, if you like literally just do a 360 with your controller, you'll like spin and get more air and then you can like air kick. And so it's just like, it feels really great to move around. And a lot of the challenges in the game are like, can you move around really quickly, which is fun. But the other part of the pitch is that this is the most like kind of emo MySpace Flash game coded game that I have seen in like a long time, where the trailer for it is really worth watching, which is just on Bryce Butcher is the developer and it's on their Twitter, but it's like has a very made in Windows Movie Maker like 2005 aesthetic with kind of like emo screamo music. And the character looks, this is a real deep cut, but the character looks like Thing from like Thing Arena, which was a Flash game that I played a lot of.
Wow.
And like all of the text, like the dialogue in the game are in these very like, I don't know, Windows 2000-esque text boxes. And it's just like, it's an early 2000s nostalgic throwback, but in like a very specific direction that I haven't seen recreated much in games. And I was just really into that.
Yeah, that's so funky. Yeah, it's called 500 Caliber Contractz with a Z instead of an S at the end. Unforgettable. That's sweet. Janet, you played, can you cleanse our palate, please? What's the cutest thing you played?
I played Cato. What's the cutest thing I played during next one? It might have been. I only played like 7 games.
Okay.
Yeah, this is really good. It is you're a cat, and there's also a piece of toast that like clings onto you that helps you like jump. So what's interesting about this is like, and well, one, it does look very cute, and the art style is very appealing. But genuinely, it's a very fun, enjoyable puzzle platformer. I think one aspect that's very fascinating is that this is a platformer where you're constantly removing and adding your ability to platform, because you can't jump. You just move left to right. And you can like go up. There's sometimes like sticky walls that you can go up and you can maneuver that way, but you can't jump unless you're wearing the piece of toast on your head. But the shtick is where it's like you tap spacebar and you like spin really fast. Very satisfying animation of this very circular round cat just quickly spinning around with a piece of toast attached to its head. So it's like, boom, that already hits. But what's fun is there's these kind of magical other realm sort of barrier blocks that can appear, and you can't go through that when you're wearing the toast. So you have to take it off to go through that. And you control both the cat and the piece of toast. The cat, you move left to right. The toast can sort of latch onto walls and almost like wall kick around. It basically only moves through like, you have like a short jump and like a long jump, and it's like with a dotted trajectory. So you see like where it can move before you hit it. But you're kind of trying to like, you get the cat to one side, and then it's like, okay, well, how do I get the piece of toast onto the other side so that I can continue to jump? And then you can kind of see from that how the level design, evolves into things like having multiple layers of that kind of like other world that you have to like turn off and on strategically, but make sure that like you don't lose the toast at the wrong spot. And there is like a reset button for these reasons in case you like lock yourself out of the game. But it's very cool. It also has like the tubes from Mario 3D World.
Ooh.
Which, like, I know Mario 3D World didn't invent clear tubes, but I feel like they put clear tubes on the map. I think, like, you know what I mean? It's like clear tubes weren't as exciting until 3D World did it. So it has that where it's like very satisfying and cute and weird, but also just really fun different platforming. It's also fascinating in that when you have that toast again, I really have to emphasize that when you're tapping space, you move up like infinitely. So I was like, when I started playing it, I'm like, this is so interesting because it's sort of bucking a lot of
It's
the
like Kirby or
traditional
something?
constraints. Yeah, like Kirby, basically. That's a good example. It's like bucking a lot of the constraints of what a traditional platformer has, which is one, like a limitation on jumping, and then two, also like removing your abilities for strategic purposes, which is odd and interesting. But yeah, that's Cato. Cato equals cat plus toast equals butter cat paradox equals anti-gravity is the description they wrote on Steam. And they put 3 emojis of a bread, a cat, and I think a test tube or a puzzle piece. I don't really know what that is.
So the pitch is like, what is an axiom? What's the old term for the conundrum of what cats always land on their legs, toast always lands butter side down. So if you strap them back to back, they'll hover forever. And they just decided to make a game
I never heard
off
of the anything with toast. People in my chat were also talking about the toast.
Oh, the toast is a thing. Yep.
But I guess that's the thing. They're smattering them together.
What do you call it? It's a classic riddle? What do you call that stupid logic?
It's a paradox, right?
Paradox?
I guess so. It's a paradox that people repeat constantly.
Yeah, I mean, that's in the description. It says buttered cat paradox.
Okay, yeah, there we go. All right, I'll be damned. Cato is the name of that thing. And then the other one is Glyphica. Am I going to be into this because there's typing involved?
Hell yeah, you're going to be into this. Ooh. This is like, I've been waiting for, and I've known this moment's coming. I've been embracing for a long time. Because a couple things. One, I'm a firm believer that even a genre anyone hates, like there's probably at least one, if not dozens of games that you might like in your hated genre. Well, sure. Because like games are so diverse that like there's something that's going to connect with you. So then with seeing this is a rogue game where it's like, man, I just generally don't like the rogue format because I'm like, I want to be done and then walk away and have that dopamine hit if I did it. Like having to be good to get my dopamine, not appealing to me. I feel like I get that in my regular life. I came here to escape. This is a rogue horde survival game where you type. It is essentially vampire survivors, but very minimalist UI. Yeah. If you were typing, and it is so good. And I went on such a good run. My first time, I'm like, oh, is this what it feels like to be good at a game? Like I was like, this kind of hits, like, you know. But yeah, that's basically what the game is. So you like traditional kind of rogue horde structures. As you clear levels, you can choose from a variety of like weapons or buffs. Some of them have debuffs, and you're attacking words. So again, it's very, very minimal UI. It's like a lightly gray screen, a dot. It's just dots moving towards the center. So you're not looking at much of anything other than like, you'll see like a red dot and it'll say like enemy and it floats slowly towards you in the middle. But as you progress, like the words that attack you get funkier, but also like have more properties. So maybe like one has like an arrow and it's going really fast towards you. There are words that are, you only get the first 2 letters. And as you type it, they'll give you the rest of the letters one at a time so that you can't just like, you know, a big part of typing is like you see it, then you kind of just go into the flow of it. It's like kind of trips up even like the fastest typer. You have to wait to see what the word is. But while you're doing that, you're also putting down like mines are appearing and like different saws are spinning. Again, like Vampire Survivors, where you're kind of letting it take care of itself, but also but unlike that, you have like a actual action you can do because you're typing. So you can type to kill a word essentially, but you can also have like bullets and other things that fire and like bring down the health bar of these words. So once I started to figure out like what the flow of the game was, I was able to understand, okay, well, let me just attack like the words on the left side because I have a turret on the right side and I think that's going to clear those words. And then, you know, you kind of move around the fields from there. There's also like buffs you can pay, like money and like other things you can like type to like unlock on the screen. But that's the flow of it. Yeah. And it's really, really good. And I'd say it's pretty challenging, and only normal was available on the demo. Like they do have a hard mode. I think the demo is still downloadable. But yeah, it's Glyphica typing survival.
Yeah, it's coming out. They say Q3 2024 for Glyphica, but that definitely looks unique for sure.
Yeah, you got to try it. It's really good. If you like typing games, you'll like it.
I will check it out when it comes out. Jacob, I'm so curious to hear your take on this game. Not Steam Next Fest. We're branching out of that completely. This is Still Wakes the Deep, the new game from the Chinese Room, who blasted onto the scene with Dear Esther, which feels like it was a century ago that Dear Esther came out game design wise, but I love it. And then Amnesia, Machine for Pigs, everybody's gone to the Rapture. And then they're also developing Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 now, which I forgot that shifted over to them.
But, like, the weird part is in the middle there, they've actually made 2 games that like no one played because they were on weird systems.
Oh.
They made it something called So Let Us Melt, which was only on like the Google Daydream or something.
What is a Google Daydream?
I have no idea. I just remember them like making this and being like, what the hell is that? And then they made a game called Little Orpheus, Daydream VR. So it was like a weird VR game. And then they made Little Orpheus, which was an Apple Arcade game that is now available on PC, but it's like a side scroller. But it feels like we've been waiting since everybody's gone to the Rapture to be like, okay, what's the next like real game you're going to make?
Yeah.
And it's still Wakes the Deep and it rules.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so you might remember from some showcases and stuff, you're out on like an oil derrick, you're in the ocean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the setting is really specific and really cool because you're on a big oil platform in the ocean, but it's in 1975 and it's off the coast of Scotland. And like the big thing about this game, other than like some stuff that I'll talk about later, is like extremely Scottish game in a way that I've kind of never seen done to this level, where like all of the characters are so legitimately voiced by Scottish actors doing like real kind of Scottish slang and jargon that like I posted a clip of it where you can actually pick like English American or English UK. And if you pick English American as the subtitles, it will be like translating the slang for you because it would be almost unintelligible. But it's not like Braveheart bullshit. You know, it's like, it's real. It is actual. I've like lived in Scotland for a little while. Like it's real. I studied abroad there.
Did you really? How long were you there?
Yeah. For like 6 months.
Jesus. And also, yeah, if you're a Backstage Pass supporter, you know that Kelsey dropped the lore before the show that she used to work for Paul F. Tompkins, which is, everyone's filled with mysteries, even this many years into MinnMax. It's shocking.
I worked for Paul F. Tompkins in a way that he would probably not remember who I am, though. So that's, you know.
And Scotland does not remember that I was there.
You're being big time by a country and a man. I get it, everybody. Okay, so anyway, so it just feels authentic and very specific. Like that setting seems really cool to me, and it's so dopey. But it's like, oh, it's just because I like Big Shell and I like Metal Gear Solid 2, and I like the idea of just like you want a clean, remote sense of place. It seems like an oil derrick is a great way to offer it.
Yeah, so like that's cool. The voice acting is great, you know, and like the Chinese room generally, Dear Esther and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture are like very slow contemplative games about like walk and like think about like themes. And what's interesting about this game is it is really not that. Like this is as close to an action game as a walking simulator can be, where it is like it's somewhere between, I don't know, almost like a cinematic platformer and also kind of a horror game, because basically what happens is like John Carpenter's The Thing starts happening on this oil platform.
Wait, what? You should have led with that.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
That's the exciting. They drill into something they should not have drilled into, and from then on, both there's some kind of crazy monster thing happening and the oil platform is falling apart, and so you are having to go and like fix things. And so it also feels, I tweeted, it feels kind of like the Poseidon Adventure or something, where it's like you're covering every part of this oil platform because it's like, oh, something's wrong with like the legs of it, and like, oh, now you have to go to the generator, and you're just seeing all these like cool different parts of it. And then there is scary monster stuff also happening, and it is like really fast paced. And I played it all in basically, it's probably like 5-6 hours long, but I like played it in a day because I was just like so excited to keep playing.
That's awesome to hear. I saw, like, I know you were hot on it. This IGN's review was like a 6 or something, but everyone else's review seemed glowing. So it just seems like maybe is an odd one. We can't account for everybody's reviews out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not a game with a lot of mechanics, you know, but if you go in expecting a walking simulator to the similar kind of games they've made in the past, you'll find it really exciting because like you actually do a lot of things. But if you want it to be like a dead space, then like, no, it's not, you know, it's not that.
That's awesome. I know it's cliche when I ask this, but like, you think it's gonna be one of your favorites of the year? Is it to that level or just a cool experience?
I think so. You know, it's like, it's not profound. I don't think I'll be like thinking about it a lot,
right.
But like, it is really, it's like a great, it feels kind of like a great older style of action movie where it's just, it's almost, I know, it's like it's Die Hard on like an oil platform where it's like, we're just going to go through every inch of this oil platform and like be really kind of like think of clever solutions to things. Yeah, I really, really liked it.
That's awesome. Still Wakes the Deep is the name of that game. Janet, do you know how this whole thing operates?
No, but I'm about to find out.
I'll tell you right now, ma'am. It's Patreon, patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. You go there, find the tier that's right for you. You keep this whole independent operation sustainable. And boy, do we got something special for y'all today. You know how we're doing that deepest dive? And it's available as a podcast in your favorite podcast app if you're a $5 supporter. And you know how we have Bonus Pod, which Haley McLean hosts every single week, and some weeks it's better than the main show. And that's available at that $5 tier as well. Janet, what if I told you there's an extra boost where if you support MinnMax on Patreon at that $5 tier or above, if you're feeling wacky, you jump in at that $5 tier before the end of Friday, June 21st, we will DM you on Patreon with a code for a brand new game on Steam. The game is called Asuka. It's in early access. It's from Thunderful and Sandsailor Studios. It is a Viking survival game. You know, I'm a sucker for this after Valheim was my favorite game of 2021. So it looks Valheim-esque, but it's available on Steam June 20th. And again, we'll DM you a code for this brand new game if you support MinnMax on Patreon at that $5 tier. We greatly appreciate your support. We have 100 codes to give away, which is awesome. But just a heads up that if you go to the About page on Patreon and you see that the number of total supporters is over 4,690, that's your cue that we're out of codes. But if it's under 4,690, then you can jump in and we'll DM you a code for Asuka. So if you want to help support independent games media, you want to get a brand new game on Steam, and you want the podcast version of the Deepest Dive on Shadow of the Erdtree with Jacob and Sarah and Kyle and folks, you can jump in and support us there. We greatly appreciate it. Also, of course, a huge shout out to our biggest supporters, people like Squarespace. If you have a company, if you want to get your brand out there, you should just make a darn site. It's not hard. And with Squarespace, it's much easier. And this podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place, all on your terms. Check out Squarespace, everybody. Kelsey, I assume you have a Pink Gorilla website, right?
I do, but it's not Squarespace.
That's fine, but aren't you amazed that people go to it? Like, I look at the analytics for MinnMax's site, and like, oh, people are checking out websites, everybody. It turns out that you just put something out there.
Internet thing.
Yeah, people are finding it somehow, and especially with Squarespace's SEO tools, they can get it in front of so many more people. They have video gallery options. If you want to sell stuff on your site, you might be like me and think that's way too complicated. I don't know the first step of doing that. Squarespace can help you out for selling content on your site. So if you want to build a website, you can check out Squarespace. You can go to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/MinnMax to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Check it out there, everybody. There's a link in the description as well. Also, thank you to our dear friends at I Am 8-Bit. They are cool, and they want everybody to know about Joystick Jazz, the Blue Shift Big Band plays iconic video game hits, vinyl soundtrack, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Vinyl 1 and Vinyl 2 is another way to put it. But I'm 8-Bit's awesome online store has so many great vinyls, and this is, if you just want a sweet medley of some of the greatest video game music of all time, you can check out Joystick Jazz. They got tracks from Ocarina of Time, from Banjo-Kazooie, Sonic the Hedgehog, Grim Fandango, Kingdom Hearts 3, and a ton more. And if you like playing video game music around the house, like I'm getting into playing vinyls more and more from video game soundtracks, but sometimes you want a medley. Sometimes you don't want to be stuck in the zone of a Banner Saga for 40 minutes. That's why Joystick Jazz is the place for you. But you can go to I'm8bit's wonderful online store, use the promo code TOUCHGRASS. TOUCHGRASS, everybody. And you will get 10% off of everything under $100. If that sounds good to you, then check out I'm8bit's wonderful online store because there's so much cool stuff. And help support I'm8bit. You should help support I'm8bit because they support the MinnMax community in a big way by shipping in a prize each and every week to whoever has the best question submitted over there on Patreon. We greatly appreciate it. And so we will choose our absolute favorite out of all the questions submitted this week. And that person will win the Bear and Breakfast Nintendo Switch exclusive physical edition from I'm8bit. It'll just show up in your mailbox. It'll be magical. I'll DM you and get your address, so it won't be that magical. But still, thanks to I'm8bit for shipping out the Bear and Breakfast vinyl soundtrack. Okay, y'all ready for our community questions? Great. They go a little something like this. James Welsh writes in, what percentage of the 210s do you think will be indie games this year? Prior to this summer of reveals, I would have thought they'd dominate. Now I'm not so sure. Turns out there's some AAA stuff coming out in 2024 after all. Also, I've been playing 1,000 times Resist this past week, and Jacob and Kelsey are right. That game is captivating. Congratulations. Yeah, it did feel like this is the year of indies. I mean, Summer Game Fest, Keeley's show is like, man, indies, here we go. And now it feels like with the Nintendo Direct and Microsoft pushing a lot of stuff, it's like, wait, 2024 might just be stacked for third parties and AAA games as well here.
Yeah, I had a different feeling about this literally before and after the Nintendo Direct, which is not actually that many games. It's just like, oh, now we're adding a Zelda. Like, that'll obviously be on most people's lists.
Darn it. That list was almost interesting. And then Zelda had to come release a great game, probably. What are you going to do?
I'm curious what the proportion has been of our lists in previous years.
They lean fairly indie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of my thoughts is like, I actually think the years aren't as different as we kind of like to talk about them as. Like, it feels like most years, there's like a handful of good big games and a lot of good indies, you know? And like, I don't know how much that actually varies per year, even though obviously the industry is having like big things happen in it.
Yeah, so it'll probably still be like that 40 to 50% indie ratio for MinnMax 210s like it normally is. Yeah, could be.
Look, as long as Balatro and 1,000 Times Resist are in the top 5, I won't complain.
Oh God, I hadn't even thought about Balatro. That could make a run for the top. I feel like if Jeffem
me
comes
and
out
Jeffem
swinging,
we're gonna be fighting for it.
Oh God.
I mean, even
God,
last year, like I'm counting 3, 4 maybe.
Indies, really? That's it?
Well, we have Sea of Stars, Chia, Chancenar, Vemba. That's 4. And is Karateka indie?
Yeah, I suppose
they own that publisher?
It should be. I mean, Atari owns it, but yeah.
It's Atari. Okay, then that's 4.
Yeah, that's not that many, actually. Yeah, you're right.
No, and like in 2019, I think we only had 2.
Yeah.
Bob Is You and Grindstone. So I don't think we actually have that many indies generally. So I was gonna say like 30 to 40, but that might be, which would be like 7 or so. Which I think
what is like Shadow Gambit not an indie?
It is.
I don't know.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I guess there's some more sneaking in there. We've got them.
Yeah, I just think looking, but like at a quick glance, it's not like there's not like none, but there's not like I think to Jacob's point, it might be around that same, but I think that is more of a 30 to 40 than a 50.
Yeah, could
generally.
Be. Toke F. Toke AF, they write in, they say, last week you discussed Wanderstop, the first title from Ivy Road. As a fun note about Ivy Road, they revealed their studio during the 2021 Annapurna Interactive Showcase in a video where they, of course, made tea, a small hint of what they were secretly working on. Also, they fool around at the end of the video and it never fails to make me smile. Yeah, we did a reaction stream for that and we were so delighted. I can't believe I forgot that Carla and Davey Reedon were out there in this teas, drinking a lot of tea, because I do remember that standing out as being so funny at the time. But it's a good example of like you can't wrap your mind around everything in the game industry at all times. I should have had a note in my phone like, remember that Davey Reedon and Carla from Fulbright are working together on something cool, and now we know it's Wanderstop. What do you think is going to be? Do you think people are building up the idea of a twist in Wanderstop too much, Jacob?
I'm not sure if twist is the word I'd use for it, but it's obviously going to be something more than just making tea.
Right. But maybe that'll be the twist, man. Maybe it's just
Maybe. I mean, and it's like, yeah, I am thinking like Davey Wreden's 2 other big games have been like critical takes on how we view art. And that's a high standard, and this game might not be that.
Right.
And I have to remember that it's okay if it's not that.
Yeah, because he's presumably working with a bigger team as well this time around, and so he made Beginner's Guide and Stanley Parable, if you don't recall from Davey Wreden's past there. Leah writes in and says, what's one announcement from the past few weeks that you think most people have already forgotten? SGF, it's just a deluge of video games, but I was listening to podcasts as per normal, and there was one where I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. Do you remember Atomfall? The reveal trailer for Atomfall, where it's the developers of Sniper Elite, Leo's favorite series of all time. They're making just like a first-person shooter narrative mystery experience. They describe it as a single-player survival action game. Atomfall blends post-war Britain and Cold War paranoia, folk horror, and elements of classic British sci-fi like Day of the Triffids, Doctor Who, and The Prisoner to create an immersive and thrilling gameplay experience. Like, it does look cool, and it's from Rebellion, and they've been making great Sniper Elite games for so long, but we should probably have that a little bit higher on our radar than I think the reaction it got from the reveal trailer there. Does anybody else have one that is easy to forget about?
I would say that God, I can't even find or remember
I've
the
already
name.
forgotten.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
That damn thing from the Switch thing where we're new Denpa Men.
Oh,
I think
new
everyone
Denpa
has already
Men.
forgotten about it.
Not
Never
me.
forget the new Denpa Men. They live in our
100%
hearts.
in on Denpa Men.
Yeah, Kelsey was quiet for a good chunk of the podcast because she was just drawing fan art of the new Denpa Men. It's pretty cool.
And the old Denpa Men.
Oh, don't even get me started on those old ones. I personally am an old Denpa Man kind of guy. I know I'm classical. Sean writes in and says, how big is your gaming library? What percentage of your library do you think you've actually played? I think I've only played about 60% of the 300 games I have on my PlayStation because most of them are from PS Plus.
That's pretty good. 60%.
Yeah, 60 is high.
Yeah, that's really good.
I might have
just
a high
like
score
played
there.
once or
I think that counts.
Played.
Yeah, you don't have to roll credits on that thing.
Earnest attempt.
Right. Yeah, the PS Plus and Game
It's got
Pass
to be
stuff.
like 10% or 5%. Like just because of that aspect, the PS Plus
I mean,
stuff.
yeah. Did y'all buy the like Black Lives Matter,
Yes.
like the Palestinian relief bundles?
Literally
that
was
has
thinking
like
of that bundle.
800 games.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even just what's on my shelves. Like, I
Oh yeah, you
collect
you
games.
have you have more like maybe more games than anybody here.
No, I have
Really?
I can name like 20 friends that have bigger collections than
Oh,
me,
I mean
but
here on the
Yeah.
show.
Normal
Oh,
humans,
sure.
Kelsey. You have us all
physical
beat.
media, yeah, but I mean, I have maybe like 1,000 games or so
Jesus.
physically, and I've played. I think 100 to 120 is generous of that,
So what about WonderSwan collection? Like your pride and joy. Have you played every WonderSwan game then?
I have booted most of them up, but there's some where it's just like I don't speak enough Japanese to be able to really get anything out of this,
Sure.
Unless I really want to commit to pointing a Google Translate at the WonderSwan the whole time. And I've done that for a couple of games for a little bit. Like I've made an earnest attempt to play some of like the Gundam ones and stuff that way, and it's hard to do.
Yeah. I think I really fell off the PS Plus. Like, I got to get every game. I think my turning point was Lego Batman 3. When I had that instinct of like, well, I should just own it. And then I was like, what am I doing? I'm never going to play through Lego Batman 3.
Honestly, Ben, like, hell yeah. I'm for, because like I got so much flack back when I was on PS I Love You for Kind of Funny because I often wouldn't redeem my free games.
You're
and
fine.
The community would be like, why aren't you redeeming your free? Don't forget the free game. Or like, and every now and then I'm like, oh yeah, like I want to play that. And they're like, it was actually free 8 years ago. I'm like, who cares? I'll put aside $1 a month and figure it out. I don't know. And I get like, if you're going to play them, that's totally fine. I don't think it's weird or wrong to like, you pay for the service. Sure, claim your game.
Right.
But like, I don't want to a big reason I was paying for that service to begin with was really just for like, I don't know, maybe like online aspects or maybe saves or something like, or I bought the year or whatever and I just have it. Like, that's why I also don't have it anymore. I'm like, I don't play these games.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to play any of these games. I think with the big bundles that like Jacob's pointing to, so many of those it's like that win-win of like, oh, it's supporting charity and I get like all these great games. But yeah, then you just end up with a lot of them. But that's fine. Like I got to, you get to support charity and you get games. Like it's a win-win unless you're obsessed with chasing like a completion rate in your collection. And I spent like a year going through the BLM games specifically on my stream and like doing additional fundraising and only chipped away at like, I don't know, maybe like 20 or 30 of them. So it's like, I don't know, but they're all really great games. Yeah. And they're still there. They're not going bad. So I don't know. It's fine.
I have this idea in my head that like I'm going to retire someday and then just actually enjoy all these video games. And that's so unrealistic.
I really can't imagine you retiring.
No.
I feel like you just get a new career. You'd be like, now I'm like a professional golfer for some reason or something. Like, I don't know. I think you would just do something else.
Yeah, we can't imagine you like sitting back and enjoying your life at any point, Kelsey. It just doesn't seem like your thing if we had to summarize it.
No, but I think for that is Kelsey's joy. That's the thing. It's like, the joy is doing some cool things.
Ian Miller writes in, says, have y'all played chess? Like actually played a match? I always thought it was an old game for old boring people, but to my surprise, chess is fun.
Chess underrated.
Yeah.
Sleeper hit of 2024.
So I looked into it. It's the earliest known origin was a game from 7th century India called Chaturanga. Roughly translated, it means 4 divisions. It's wild stuff. Chess rules. I always think of when we're doing the rapid fire interviews at Game Informer, we're talking to Rod Ferguson for the Gears of War Judgment cover story, I think. And we asked him what the greatest game of all time was. And he's like, oh, it's chess. And I always think about that. Like, it's like, oh, yeah. I mean, we talk about the greatest strategy games of all time, but it's like, oh, yeah, we should probably just revert to the obvious one that you forget about too easily. But it turns out chess, and like, if you have a really intense competitive game of chess, like that is so damn fun and so tense. I love it.
Ben, you recommended a book a while back that was called like 7 Games or something.
I read it.
That. Yeah,
Ben's recommendation.
I never quite finished it, but I got through like 2/3 of it, and it was really good. And the chess part in particular was really interesting.
The best part about that book is that when you start it, you're like, oh, what an interesting like topic to be explored. And then by the end of it, you're like, the author is a freak because he just like, he like gradually drops it. At the beginning, he's writing about like checkers and it's like, okay, checkers, a kid's game, well, whatever. And then at the end, he's like, well, I entered this like national Scrabble tournament and I placed 7th, so not as good as I could have been. And like, when I was a kid, I would play Texas Hold'em for like 19 hours and uninterrupted. So I did pretty good in this Vegas tournament. And you're like, wait, what is going on?
Yeah, I love the book. So it's all about like, the history of these different games and then kind of the rise of AI and how everyone's like, not this time AI. And then AI just crushes you again and again and again. My favorite was like,
except for bridge.
Yeah, bridge.
AI can't play bridge.
Yeah, it was like, try and figure this one out, sucker. I'm sure now it's destroying all old folks in all the old folks homes across the country with the AI bridge. But Jacob, that means the world to me. Even though I guess I recommend games sometimes on this podcast, and that's, I guess, a crux of some things. But like the fact that apparently you and Kelsey both got that book based on my recommendation, it's like, that's an honor. And I got the recommendation from Kirk Hamilton over at Triple Click, so I'm just passing it along. But I should probably do more of that. I feel like my life is a little bit too busy these days. But back when we were doing Better Quest, one of my favorite goals that I had for a month was like, for 1 month, I'm taking every recommendation somebody tosses my way. Like if someone's just like,
do you announce it?
The Jim Carrey film, Yes Man.
It is exactly Yes Man. But I guess I don't tell people that. I guess they would just have to come in. It didn't count for online either. But it's just like so many times, and maybe I'm just stubborn, but so many times people will be like, oh, you haven't seen this movie? Oh, you got to see that movie. And just for 1 month being like, well, then I got to see that movie. Like it was really fun.
I know, I have to watch Boyhood, Ben. It's like,
Janet, I want to do max spoilers on Boyhood so bad. I think it'd be so fun.
You're right. I gotta
Max spoilers. He ages.
I gotta get to it. whoa! I don't know anything about it.
Come on. It's not called manhood. And then Ian Miller says, my question is, what game from the past 50 years of gaming history will develop and form into the next chess? Probably Balatro.
In the past 50?
Yeah.
There's no way, like chess is like ancient.
Yeah.
Not literally ancient, but like all these games, all these really enduring ones are like pretty old.
So you think 1,000 years from now, Tetris will not exist?
No, sorry, Ben. It is Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think you're onto something though. Tetris might actually be the answer there.
Could be. So Tetris is better. gun to your head, Janet, Tetris or chess? What's better?
Tetris.
Okay, great.
Probably not the right answer, but
Tetris you can
you
play
were gonna shoot
alone.
me,
You don't have to,
and I have a
like,
family.
talk to people.
Yeah, okay. Jesus Christ.
You said gun to my head. I didn't know it's like
Okay. And Kelsey, checkers or Hatris? Which one's better?
Hatris.
Hatris, yeah, cool. If you've never looked up Hatris, please look it up, everybody. The Sleepy Mailman writes in, and if you're going with it and you have to listen to every recommendation, everybody out there, you gotta play Hatris. You simply must.
what is this?
It's from the
Just tab
creator of
over.
Tetris. He made this.
It's Alexei Pajitnov made Tetris with hats. I don't know how else.
So stupid.
Well, I was gonna say, is this Tetris with hats?
Oh,
but I was like, they
is it
wouldn't
ever?
dare.
Is it ever?
This looks a lot like
Hatris?
the Yoshi's Cookie.
Oh, okay.
It's like you're spinning on
yes, I can see it.
the plates. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Where can I play this?
I have no
Currently,
idea.
legally.
We'll wait for digital clips to make it available for us or something. Sleepy Mailman wrote in and said, "Hey, MinnMax, if you were able to do so, would you make a Trico? Like a real life animal? Would you create one in a lab? Why or why not?"
Wait, hold on. Trico from
Last
Pokemon
Guardian.
or from...
great question. This is from Last Guardian, Trico.
Right.
Oh. I also thought of Pokemon. I was like, he's a little funky looking.
So, Jacob, how big of a fan of genetic engineering are you?
It's a Trico, genetic engineering. I know.
That's all Jacob talks about.
I mean, it's like the thing about Trico is like, it's very sad, that whole game, because it's alone and like outside its environment. And like, that's the only life it could live in, if we brought it into the real world.
It would be okay, but you could also give it like a cute little buddy. You could make two Tricos.
If I could, if the size
What if they hate
is
each
also
other?
hard.
That could
Yeah,
happen.
it's like if I could make like a corgi-sized Trico, and I could make two of them,
And then like a colony of them.
Yeah, but not
you
like
sell
like a
them.
rhinoceros. Like the actual size of it.
Yeah, that would be a bummer. Yeah, it'd be like a panda situation. You'd make two Tricos and they would hate each other and not mate. It's like, come on, we need more Tricos. Come on, Ueda's cool. Make them happy.
Two
I don't even
Tricos
like-
that hate each other is kind of the plot of The Last Guardian. I don't know how well y'all remember that movie.
That's right.
Oh my god. Okay, The Last Guardian, for some reason, what year did that game come out?
2016.
Okay, so that wasn't it. For some reason, maybe I was just going to GameStop a lot in 2016, but the GameStop TV ad for Last Guardian is like tattooed in my mind, where they're like, and just like a real pet, they don't always do what you want. And it's just like, literally, it was like, that was like the
true.
line. They always had this like same cadence on GameStop TV. And I don't know why I had to sit, like every time I went into GameStop, it was that ad specifically.
That's funny to like have GameStop try and sell Last Guardian and be like, it's kind of like Nintendogs, like trying to find some hokey angle for that crap.
Hey, that was what the game was. Like, it was like, yeah,
Yeah,
like,
no, it's true.
He doesn't do what you want him to, or she. I don't know anything about this big dog that can fly.
Well, that's why
if
we
I'm
need to
being
make
honest.
one so you can lift up the dinosaur skirt and find out.
I think my answer has to be no for this though, because I don't even like breeding pets. Like in real life, like
Some people
where it's
like
like, oh, I
that.
bought this designer dog and the dog's bones are messed up. It's like,
Oh yeah, I have some controversial dog opinions. Like I don't think pugs should exist.
oh, me too. Okay, I'm glad. Are we all like team?
I'm not
pugs should
saying like
exist
we're gonna go
kind of-
out and
yes,
murder
yes, exactly.
pugs. I'm just saying
Yes.
stop making them.
Yes, stop making
It's
them.
cruel to bring them into the world.
Yeah.
Or there's that cat with like the pinned ears that like it's always in pain.
Oh, well, those little munchkin cats are weird. It's like, oh, cats weren't cute enough for you. You had to make like
Yeah,
a different
like-
cat that has bad bones.
Exactly. It's like, and I feel like Trico's got to have something going on in turn. I didn't play the game, but I think there's something's
some
not
fun-
right.
No, you're
you know
not
what I
wrong.
mean?
Yeah. Hey, what's the deal with Brock in Pokemon? Because he's like, I want to be a Pokemon breeder, right? That's his. It is interesting that he's like obsessed with attractive women, and then also he's like, I want the Pokemon to mate too. It's blurring some boundaries, but
There's like some voyeurism going on for sure. I don't know.
it's odd. But the
I
weird
think
part,
you might be reading into two separate things a little.
he's
too
obsessed
much.
with breeding and he wants to hump everybody. I think that's very clear that it's the same Venn diagram. But I mean, Pokemon breeding, I don't understand. Like in the show, is it ever interesting or successful? Like it's not like they're trying to breed like a new species or anything. What in the games, I guess is breeding. It's like the competitive scene, they're into it, but like
Well, I mean,
outside
you breed
of,
in real life, like animals. It's like the same concept.
I understand that, but I'm
Yeah,
saying
and you breed for like desirable, quote, heavy on the quotes traits. You know, and in Pokemon, it's like you want this one with really good attack stats or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I get that for the competitive scene, but the show, they're never like, oh, this Eevee has a beautiful pelt because I
Well, but
bred
they're
it.
like farmers and stuff. In
What?
the show, right? Like I haven't seen the show in a long time, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn. But it's like how in real life you have animals and you might breed the animal and you have them on a farm. It's like they're not all.
Or sell them.
They also just they live
Okay.
with Pokemon. It's like it's an integrated community.
Yeah,
You know
but
what
what does that have to do with the breeding? I don't understand.
Pikachu movies, so we can get the more real world application.
Look, Ash's mom is married to
get
Mr.
Haley
Mime.
in
You're
here?
asking the wrong questions, man. You're not gonna look
Yeah,
at
that's
his.
true. God, I was this podcast is off the rails. Welcome to hell, everybody. But I was playing a lot of Pokemon Puzzle League this weekend, which rules on the N64. But it's such an odd time and place because I feel like there was this pocket where, no pun intended, whereas Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Puzzle League, where they were like fully overlapping with the show. You know, and then it kind of like branched back out. Like they started out obviously with the games and the shows based on that. Like, okay, we got to capture that popularity. And those before the Pokemon Company, I think, was trying to keep those separated because it's so wild to think of like how overlapped the show and Pokemon Puzzle League were in that time frame. But then after that, it was back to like, we're back to digitized Pokemon cries, even for the modern series. Like Pokemon don't say their names. That's a show thing. And it just feels like that's kind of the alternate world that they don't really overlap with that much anymore. But Pokemon Puzzle League is just... it is so entrenched in the show and they have like all the voices and like the music is all just music from the show instead of the games. It's really weird. And that is my Jacob
that's
Geller
probably
essay.
expensive too.
What's that?
That's probably like expensive to do too. You know, like to keep those things aligned and pay the voice actors and everything.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. You got to get the voice actor for Lieutenant Surge to say, "You poor baby," over and over again in Pokemon Puzzle League. That costs a fortune. Chandler writes in and asks, is there a license plate more famous than, well, I won't even say it. What is the most famous license plate of all time?
I mean, recently, and this is North Carolina history, there were two women, one who had a license plate that said fart and another who had a license plate that said shart, and they met up and they made like a power pose. It's like if you search like North Carolina fart girl, shart girl, which it sounds like a risky
Lava
Google,
boy.
but like this picture will come up.
I mean, we were going to say Out of Time for Back to the Future, but I think Shark Girl probably takes it. You were not going to say that, Janet? Were you thinking something else?
I wasn't thinking. I didn't have an answer for this, but I didn't like. I don't have like when you're like, oh, we all know this iconic plate. Nothing came to mind at all.
I think it's just got to be Out of Time. There's got to be something else though that's like good joke. It's usually just like some Easter egg, like this license plate is the original date that this comic book was released. Something.
Also, I never watched Back to the Future. I'm just gonna own it. Like like why?
Janet,
Ben, you don't want her to. I'm
No,
just
don't.
going to tell you right
Yeah.
now. You don't want another broken
Didn't
heart.
you just watch Ferris Bueller and
Hated it.
so yeah, don't make her watch it.
I can't
honestly,
imagine.
it made me appreciate The Mask more, which is like a weird cut that no one else is
The
gonna
Mask is a great
experience.
movie. I don't know why it has to be brought up while Ferris Bueller's being put down.
I watched them back-to-back weekends from my library rental.
Can I send you
media, but-
my fanfic, Janet, of what if Ferris Bueller got the mask from The Mask? Because it's pretty cool content.
That's so
It'd go a
scary.
little, like,
The world's not ready.
Yeah. I cannot imagine somebody not liking Back to the Future. It's like one of the most enjoyable films ever made. Like, honestly, I think it's universal. No pun intended. Everybody has to love that movie. There's no way. But
I
again,
guess we'll never know.
Don't
'cause I'm
touch
not
it.
Gonna watch it. I
Don't go
refuse.
near it, Janet. Don't even think about it.
And that's the thing. Like people y'all don't really want what you think you want. I think I should just stay where I am and just move forward in time. I think going back was a mistake for everyone involved.
She should not
I'm
go
gonna have a
back
good
to the
time. You're not having a good time. Then who's benefiting from this? I guess the library for the rentals. I don't know if that helps them with funding at all, but like we're out there in the DVD section hitting it up, you know. But yeah, I don't have a plate that comes to mind.
Okay. Ken Houston says, a couple weeks ago, there was a debate about higher kill count between Mario and Link. If the thought process is that Mario is killing all those Goombas and charging Chucks and the rest of it, it stands to reason he either can't or won't kill Bowser. Does Mario have some sort of Batman killing rule? Why doesn't Mario simply kill Bowser? It's a great question.
He tries, but he's too like powerful.
I mean, he did drop Bowser in the lava. Like, I would think that would kill him.
Yeah.
I think, like, by all reasonable metrics, that should kill Bowser.
Isn't
Mario
Bowser kind of like
believes he's committing murder.
a Godzilla almost kind of vibe, which like I don't know, he can withstand the lava for some reason. He like kind of goes into it like it's an ocean.
Wait, but it still hurts him a
He
little
seems
bit.
unbothered by it.
Yeah, it's
Also,
just kind
did
of
you know that in I think it's I don't think it was 6 Golden Coins. No, it was in the first Mario that some of those Bowsers are fake Bowsers
What does that mean?
in the castle. Like there's like a green one and a red one, and one of them is fake Bowser.
It's kind of like fake princess thing.
I don't know because they never address it in the game. The one that throws hammers, he's fake. He's not real Bowser.
Oh, okay. They say the
What's
real.
up with that? It's in the encyclopedia. I was reading it the other day, and they're like, then there's fake Bowser. I was like, oh, this is news to me.
They should bring back fake Bowser for like Mario Kart. That'd be a great character.
Yeah, because like what.
He might be.
I know that's true.
You're
It's like
playing
up
as
there
real
with like the
Bowser.
lore of Mario. It's up there with the like I like how that I forgot if it was the same person or someone added on to the fact about the blocks being people.
Yep.
And how if you count the block, like it's in there with that.
I mean,
Anyway,
if
I
you're counting
don't know
the
how that
blocks
goes in,
as
but-
people, then Mario undoubtedly has a higher
Yeah.
That
kill
is
count.
true. We have not really factored that in. Yeah. And the idea is in the original instruction manual said that like the toads were turned into the blocks, I think is the idea.
Yeah.
Wow. That's absurd.
And that's like what's weird. Like the whole point is that like Princess Peach is supposed to come back and like restore the kingdom to what it was. In all the games, it never gets restored. Everyone's just block people forever.
Yeah. That
There's not a cure.
It's
a one-way trip.
Like
No,
we're out
it's
there
actually a
freaking standing
mercy
on the boat
killing
with the
for
"We did
Mario
it"
to
banner,
break the
and
block.
nothing has changed.
They're so conscious in there, they just have to live
Oh,
completely
what a
still.
nice-
Yeah, we're out here like Hian and Han, and like the community's in shambles.
But I want to see a montage of Bowser deaths. Like, what's the most definitive? Does he ever do like a full Terminator 2 slowly lowered thumbs down as he's going in the lava? Like, is it ever clear that like he is super dead this time, or is it always just?
Yeah, I think in New Super Mario Brothers, like he becomes skeletonized in the lava or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
He got better.
I'm gonna
Okay.
have to look this up later, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he becomes.
he's like
a skeleton in the
unkillable.
lava.
His skin just regenerates above his.
Well, but also
body,
Mario
right?
dies constantly. Like you kill Mario like 40 times while you're
Yeah,
playing.
but that's
so,
gameplay death, not story death. I mean, these are story cinematic cutscenes every time
I
Bowser
see.
goes
If you
down.
die in
Okay.
the story, you die in the game.
Unclear. Let's see. Michael Berry writes in, very obvious question. Have you ever had kiwi berries? I need someone else to
berry?
confirm that these exist. I have never heard of these. I then Googled it, and I am desperate to eat a kiwi berry. Look at these weird things. They're like kiwi grapes. They look awesome.
Oh, they're right there with like with fake Bowser. You know, it's like I don't know. Didn't know this was a thing.
They were designed by the same person who's going to bring a Trico to life. I'm reading here. That's interesting. Controversial. James from Michigan writes in and says, "Hey, cohorts, I just finished another Crab's Treasure over the weekend and really enjoyed the game overall. It was genuinely funny at times, making me laugh out loud, and the Souls Easter eggs were fun as hell. I'm sorry, fun as well. Oh, sorry, you made that dirty for you, James. Nothing's dirtier than hell. I found the comedy of the game very refreshing in the usually bleak Souls-like scene. What are some other examples of games with vastly different tones compared to their genre contemporaries?" It's a great question.
I mean, a kind of obvious one is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like there are not a lot of tactic games that are, I guess maybe like Worms, you could say, is in like a similar place. But it's like, you know, in the world of like XCOM, you're not having a lot of like goofy guys running around.
right.
Isn't there a Plants vs Zombies? That would be
Not re- that's like a third person shooter
okay.
thing.
I thought they had
Yeah.
a tactics spinoff.
That was Garden Warfare, which is still a weird name to think about. That's good. That's good, Jacob. We'll accept that.
Yeah, I think Jacob has. I was going to say what Jacob said, but he said
Yeah.
it already.
Yep. It took
Just
the
very
I
words.
mean,
Easy
are there
for me who
what's
doesn't have
what's
an
like
answer.
the grittiest pure platformer? Like, is there something that like plays like Mario but is like
I guess Conquer, but honestly, like Conquer's not as. It's not even that gritty.
no?
And it's also not even that good of a platformer either. It's kind of. It's best in memory, I think. Conquer.
Super Meat Boy has a bunch of blood in it.
Yeah,
That's true.
So I Super Meat Boy, but even then, it's. I don't know. I guess it's kind of maybe in that vein.
It's like Braid
of the
You know,
Metroid
like,
treasure.
oh, you want to play a platformer game? What if it was like a sad
fancy.
poet?
What if he had a suit? Like, I guess Super Meat Boy might be the grittiest platformer, even though it's very cheeky. It's not like it's
I'm sure.
Yeah,
scary.
it's still silly.
I'm sure we played something
Yeah.
grittier on Cream of the Steam at some point of like, okay, this is the dark goth platformer.
I mean, that's kind of what Jacob played at Steam Next Fest. The 500
That is
caliber,
true. That is
yeah.
I
whatever
looked
the
this
rest
thing
is.
up and I'm excited to play it. It looks very. I was trying to picture what you meant by like it looking like MySpace, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter Gallagher writes in, classic conundrum. If Mr. Beast offered you $10,000 per egg consumed in a 24-hour period, how many eggs are you eating and how would you be eating them?
I mean, I like eggs.
Me too.
So I don't feel like this would be that hard to rack up like a cool $100,000. Like, do I
Yeah.
have to be in a Mr. Beast video?
You do have to, and you have to be in the thumbnail too.
It's $10,000 per egg, right?
Per egg. You have to be in the thumbnail
okay.
giving a thumbs
Yeah,
up
that's
and
only
pointing
10,
to Mr.
no, not
Beast.
100.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking $1,000. Yeah, that makes. I was like 100 eggs. Yeah, no, you could. I mean, it's like with the easiest way. It would be gross, but like, what if you just drank them? Like
I think that's
Rocky?
what it is.
You know.
Oh, no,
just,
I'm not doing
just
that.
drink like 5 eggs. It's like 50K, and it's like
That's
it's
not
not
even that
that
many
much liquid.
If I'm drinking eggs, I should be drinking like 30. Why am
Well,
I
no,
drinking
but I'm
5?
saying you can do that every like 3 hours.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
not
just
doing
like
that.
5 more eggs.
Yeah.
No,
and
I
I'm
can't.
doing-
I'd be throwing up in
Yes.
the middle of that every single
You get to
time.
keep the
I'm
money.
with
and
you,
that's great.
Kelsey. Let them drink eggs on the other side of the table because
I'm
I
just
don't want
making
it.
deviled eggs or something, man.
I was literally
Having
going to say
an-
deviled eggs also.
Yeah.
Oh. That's
Yeah, you cut them in half. Yum. Like, it's
Well,
great.
but it's like, do you want anything filling you up that's not egg? You know, if you have deviled egg, you also have like mayo in there, and that's like calories. That's
Paprika.
not egg.
Okay, once I'm at like $100,000, I'm not that pressed about getting to $110,000. Like this
Exactly,
is already pretty good. I'm not
It's all
trying
profit.
to min-max my eggs here. I want to.
See, y'all are focused on the money you're not making. Me and Kelsey are focused on the money that we are making. Like, this is all
Exactly.
profit, and we got to eat deviled eggs.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to just enjoy all of these eggs and walk away with a check.
Well, see, so the thing is, Jacob, I mean, we're smart for chugging those eggs. At the same time,
Very smart.
At the same time,
You're not
you know,
puking?
that's going to be the thumbnail is Mr. Beast pointing at us while we're puking. And so, like, how much you have to be paid to puke aggressively on the internet, I guess, is the
I
question.
literally want to
ultimately.
throw up just from this conversation. It's so gross. to
Yeah,
think of.
this
I
is-
mean,
this is
how much
such
do
a
I have
boy
to be
thing.
paid to
This
puke
is-
on the internet? Probably like $100,000.
Yeah, that is the answer. That is the
If
answer.
I'm eating 5 more eggs for that puke, that's fine with me.
Yeah. And then
What
do
if he
I get
rescinds what you've vomited, though? Then it's all, you know what I mean?
That,
It
and
was all
he
for-
would do that. You know,
Yeah.
Mr. Beast, he's a trickster.
and then he'd
I'd
bring
be
me in.
counting.
Yeah, he'd be like, okay, Ben, okay, you get $5,000 for every egg consumed, but you can only eat Jacob's puke. And he'd be like, okay, I guess it's the internet. Here we go.
Okay, now this is turning into Saw. And Mr.
Yeah.
Beast is a modern day Jigsaw. We
But
can
like
say it.
newer Saw, so
Yeah,
it's like not as.
absolutely.
It's not what it was.
All right, Jacob, do your impression of Mr. Beast as Jigsaw asking if you want to play a game. Take it away.
No, I can't do this. I've never seen a Saw movie or a Mr. Beast video.
You never seen a Saw movie? Is that on
Nope.
purpose?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
If
I
it,
don't want to see someone cut their eyeball open.
I feel like that's like new. I think I would be curious what you think of Saw 1.
Janet, you're Saw.
get it, we're not gonna know.
We have Back to the Future. You have Saw. Like, you have the same
I'm
energy.
sorry. I'm out here doing the work. Okay, people come for me about what I'm
I
missing.
bet-
I'm filling the gaps. I
bet
went to see The
would
Mummy in theater,
enjoy
and I enjoyed
Saw.
it.
It's just that then that image has to like live in my brain forever of like the person like doing a weird thing.
I don't.
Yeah,
think,
you're correct for not watching Saw. I've
I
watched.
don't
I
remember the
think,
first
2
one
of
being
them, and
that
I
crazy.
regret it.
Was it that crazy? I feel like it wasn't that crazy. Like the
I'm
first
just
like 2.
bad
The
at-
reverse bear trap sucks.
I'm bad.
You're
at gore,
comparing
like,
them to later Saws. I'm comparing them to not having seen Saw.
Yeah.
So it's like I do think it would be crazy
like,
if my
The thing is, I guess what I really want is there certain plot points in Saw that I'm like, I want Jacob to react to this plot point because some of them are so
Oh,
stupid.
interesting. Sorry,
I've
Janet.
seen that there's that old Aziz Ansari stand-up bit where he talks about someone tells him the twist at the end of Saw is crazy, and so he's reading the Wikipedia plot summary, but then he stops at the last paragraph and then Googles or end of Saw and watches it on YouTube, so he
that's so-
doesn't
yeah,
have it spoiled
honestly-
for it.
Honestly, I would be fine with you doing that because I think
I know what happens at the end of the first Saw.
Wow.
it's so dumb.
Do you think that you have higher odds of making money in a Mr. Beast video than winning the lottery?
Only on a technicality. Like I know people throw that fact around. Like technically, like it's
People
more-
throw
Do
that
you
fact
just mean
around?
like more people? Do more people? Are they in a? I guess you could control being in a Mr. Beast video more than you could control winning a lottery. Like you could put yourself. You could move to Greenville, North Carolina, where he lives, and you could like enter contests or whatever.
Wait a minute, we're going to North Carolina for the community meetup later
Not
this
nearby.
year.
And here's the thing. The town that Mr. Beast lives in, the only interesting thing about it is that Mr. Beast lives there.
That sounds
It's
perfect.
very weird that he lives there.
That's exactly the type of community I want to be in.
Sorry, I thought you were asking about the other thing that I've always heard, which is it's more you have better odds of like following Mr. Beast on social media and getting money that way because like when he sees you in real life, it's like one of his things, I guess.
What?
It's like he's like, "Are you following Mr. Beast?" And he'll like cut you a check, and people are like, "You're more likely to get that check than you are to win the lottery."
Oh,
which
wait,
I think
people
that
have said that
probably is-
before?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I guess I'm not
So,
caught
like,
up on
isn't
my
that how
Mr. Beast
some
I don't know
show.
if it's
proven?
based on data.
But I never. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like, how far am I going into these? I'm like, okay, it's kind of it. I didn't look into it. I didn't.
And
map
also, it's
this
like, what's
out.
winning the lottery? Like a scratch off?
That's the thing. I think they mean like the maybe financial equivalent. I don't know. I don't remember what this source is. You know, this is all falling apart. It's full of holes.
Do you
Probably
think,
won't lose money by being in a Mr. Beast video. So that's something.
do you think that us doing commentary tracks for Mr. Beast videos would be a good New Show Plus option if you've never seen them before, Jacob?
Could we do that? I guess
I mean-
probably there are lots of React videos.
Yeah, and we don't even have to play it. It can just be a commentary track. I mean, you can sync it up on your own if you really want to. So Mr. Beast
I
doesn't
mean,
come
I
after
would
us.
be. Is it worse that I would do it for content?
Here's the thing.
Jacob, nightmare content rotation, reacting to Mr. Beast, and then we watch Saw, and then we
Yeah.
just kind of everything that Jacob doesn't want to do.
Now, Jacob, I don't want to pre-pump your fuel engine, as they say, but
Ew.
They're always saying that.
Mr. Beast videos are good, everybody. Like I
That's
genuinely
kind of what
enjoy
I'm
watching
worried
them.
about.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that I like won't let myself like have a TikTok account with an algorithm because
Right,
I know I will enjoy it,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what
So
I'm
good.
scared of.
Yep, you should be. Muffin Crumbs says, it finally happened! Jackbox now has a launcher coming out in July. Yeah, did you see this? They announced that they have a big launcher. You can load all that stuff in Steam. That sounds fantastic. I had a really surreal moment where I felt like the world's biggest celebrity, like above Taylor Swift, where I was cruising Reddit games, of course, and I saw that story of like Jackbox is launching a launcher for all of its games. And one of the highest comments was somebody saying like, Ben Hansen from MinnMax will love this. I was like, what? Like, have I talked about that much that I really want that? That's the
Do you?
thing?
Yes,
I do. I didn't think I wanted it to that great passion that people are very aware of it, but I'm honored. So thank you, Muffin Crumbs. Tess wrote in, says, game time. YouTube decided to recommend to me the 210s from 2019 that y'all did. The greatest games from 2019, according to MinnMax. And I thought it'd be fun to see if y'all remember what made the older 210s that none of you were on, we should point out. So you can pick whether you think this game made the 210s or if it just missed it. Okay.
Should I not answer because I did look at the 210s?
Did you memorize the 2019 list?
I don't think I memorized it.
Okay. All right. Well, Dragon Quest Builders 2, did that make the 210s from MinnMax in 2019? Keep in mind, this is Suriel, Kyle, and Jeff and I.
Yes.
Yes, it did.
This feels like it could be
Yeah.
thick.
This is number 11. It made it. Now, Outer Wilds.
No.
no, it didn't because
Which Sarah still talks
none of you
about.
were like playing it, right?
Correct. I think I played a little bit, then got sick. I would assume Suriel. Maybe Suriel would come around to it now. That's odd that it seems like a Suriel type of game, but it did not make our list. And just to be fair, Jacob, you can't be mad at us. Just like we can't have the internet be mad at us for our current list. You can't feel that twinge of rage in your heart now about Outer Wilds not making the 210s.
No, it's okay. Well, because was Disco Elysium on it? I assume that only Suriel would have played it.
Yes,
if,
it was on
if
it.
anyone.
Number 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. We're safe. We're
We
safe.
don't have to have a pissy zone after this.
I mean, but I was going to say that wasn't on my 2019 list because I played it in 2020. So it's always like an embarrassing one for me.
That is embarrassing. One Piece World Seeker. Did that make our list?
No.
I mean, it would have been a Kyle pick, and he did like it.
He did.
I'm going to say yes, it was at like 19 or something.
Incorrect. Number 19 was for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the reboot, Jacob. So sorry. And then Outer Worlds.
You do need to apologize to me for that.
It was like weirdly high.
Outer Worlds is number 8 on our 2019 list. That's
Also,
funky.
part of
That's
this
just
is that
because you all
I've
played it.
Yeah, for the deepest dive. Yeah, the first deepest dive.
Oh,
we
you
were
guys
there.
did the deepest dive on it. Fun. I also like have looked at this list like a couple times. Like I've ran through this. I've done the same process like in my house. Like guess what was on this list, and then we've gone through it.
What year was Detroit Become Human 2018?
I think so.
Because one of my favorite early MinnMax memories is Surreal yelling, "The world is worse because that game is in it."
Yeah, it's a 2018 game. We were just trying to give it some flowers, and Surreal would not stand for it.
And he was right.
Yeah, I guess he's right. All right, what do y'all like for a question of the week? Good questions this week.
I like the eggs.
I like eggs.
Trico.
What was it, Kelsey?
That went places. Trico.
I think Trico is a real secret winner.
good.
I like the killing Bowser thing, the percentage of games you've played in your library. Yeah, you lean in the direction, Jacob?
I think
Easy.
eggs, actually. I like the eggs.
Okay.
Just to be like a thing that I'm considering about myself.
Yeah.
How many eggs could I eat?
Okay, sorry, Trico, genetically engineered. Peter Gallagher, you just won question of the week thanks to I'm 8-Bit. They're shipping out a prize, so thanks everybody for submitting good stuff.
Food bias continues.
There's
It's so
so
hard
many
to
food
just let it
questions.
go.
There's so many food questions. It's
They're
ridiculous.
so good.
Okay, here we go. It's time for Get a Load of This. I'll take the lead. Boring ones first. Hey, get a load of this, everybody. My sister blew my mind recently with the most boring fact imaginable. So everyone, please don't sit down to absorb this fact. Stand up and run around your house so it sounds more interesting. But mason jars, like smaller mason jars, did you know that a Parmesan lid cap will fit right on there? Universal screw. You can use that Parmesan lid on other jars if you want to.
Wow.
Thank you.
I did. Yeah.
Hang on. I'm feeling myself age like the end of Last Crusade, just recommending new lid options for everybody.
Fine. We all use mason jars.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Everyone loves lid. Get a load of this because I like the idea of boring goes first because mine's also very boring. I'm like, thank God, Ben. Mine is shout to the Echo_immunity on Twitter, who's like, it's a Jack and Dexter fan account.
Right.
Who tweets out for the very first time, every single entry in the Jack and Dexter franchise is now playable on a single console with trophy support on your PS5 through like PlayStation, God, what do they call it now? Plus is what I've called it. You know, like the kind of having all the old library. You can play Jak 2, Jak 3, Jak X, Jack and Dexter Lost Frontier, and Dexter
Perfect.
from the PSP, which Dexter is a very good game if you haven't played it.
Yeah, ready at dawn joint.
Get a load of this. This is an incredibly nerdy recommendation, but I think this is the right crowd. And particularly, Kelsey, this one might be for you. There is a YouTube video called "How Many Super Mario Games Are There Now?" by the YouTuber Jan Misali.
Perfect
That is
headline.
actually the second in this series that they've made. But it's basically like, how do you define mainline Super Mario games? And because the impetus for releasing this is like, well, Super Mario Wonder actually seems like the most definitive one that has come out since Super Mario World, of like, this is absolutely mainline Super Mario games. But it's really just a video on like categorization and like data classification. And so, you know, throughout the video, they're kind of coming up with definitions that it's like, well, this seems like it would work. Here's why it doesn't. And so, for instance, the Super Mario series consists of the video games developed by Nintendo for Nintendo consoles that have Super Mario in the title, excluding RPGs, party games, Mario Kart, sports games, and reissues of previously released Super Mario games. And he's like,
Right.
okay, great. That sounds like a pretty good definition. Included in that definition is I Am a Teacher, Super Mario Sweater, the game that teaches you how to make sweaters with Mario
Hell
characters
yeah.
on them. And it's like, if you like edge cases in data, specifically about Mario games, it's a blast to watch.
I love that.
Get a load of this. Sorry to bring a baseball fact into this one again, but I'm going to do it because it's really funny. I'm a fan of the New York Mets. They've been a terrible team all season. They are currently 6-0 since Grimace threw out the first pitch. The entire season has turned around ever since Grimace threw out the first pitch. McDonald's marketing is very happy right now. They're posting all about it. The Mets have acknowledged it. They just started asking the players in interviews last night about it. So hopefully the Grimace train keeps rolling.
For all of us, our greatest wish to each and every one of our listeners is that the Grimace train keeps rolling for everybody out there. Let's see. Hey, get a load of this from the MinnMax Discord, where the community just shares fun links all day, every day. Is Not Weirder shared this link, and he said, new game site dropped. As featured in the MinnMax Travelogue, VGBs, John Warren, formerly of Fanbyte and a MinnMax Patreon supporter at that, they just launched VGBs, a new video game site primarily focusing on written content. I know there's also a podcast, though, that Charles Hart appeared on, if you want more Summer Game Fest takes from Charles Hart. But it's just awesome seeing a new site that's focusing primarily on written content, and the fact that they launched with a ton of features. Imran Khan wrote stuff for them already, so plenty of friends of the show jumping up there. And it's just nice to have in the rotation up there with like aftermath.site, just like it's nice to have just cruise through some written video game content every once in a while. So there's a link below, and congratulations to John for launching VGBs. That is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. Thanks everybody for watching or listening and sharing and living and loving and laughing. Let's see, things we have. Bonus pod, we mentioned. More Summer Game Fest impressions from Charles Hart and Janet and I on Bonus pod this week. You can unlock it at that $5 tier. Also a reminder, if you jump in at that $5 tier, you get the podcast version of the deepest dive on Shadow of the Erdtree. And I don't plug this enough, you get this podcast ad-free 1 day early as well if you're at that $5 tier. So if you're sick of us talking about HelloFresh on this podcast, you can cut it out of your life entirely by supporting us at the $5 tier on Patreon. And if you support us this week, before the end of the day on Friday, June 21st, at that $5 tier where you'll unlock this bonus podcast feed, we will DM you on Patreon with the Steam code for Asuka, the new Viking survival game. So shout out to Thunderful for partnering with us on that whole thing. Also, up on MinnMax's YouTube channel this week, we have a new episode of Trivia Tower. Trivia Tower, everybody, hosted once again by Michael Huber, and he has his old friend Elise Willems on to co-host, who, I don't want to jinx it, she might be the most likable person in the game industry. It is uncanny how funny she is. Like, I got to geek out a little bit with her at Summer Game Fest, of talking to her and be like, I watched several like best of compilations of her recently. She might be the funniest person in the game industry. She's so amazing. And so she does a great job on that Trivia Tower, so you can check it out on MinnMax's YouTube channel if you want. New Show Plus will be returning next week for everybody there. Thanks for being patient with the delays there, but it's been a busy time for us. I think that's it. Deepest dive on Shadow of the Erdtree coming up next week. Should be a fun time. And then more basic content beyond that from MinnMax. But that was a fun episode. Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Janet. Any parting thoughts, words?
You're welcome.
You're welcome, you monsters out there consuming every day our content. All right, we'll be back next week, everybody. Be good, have fun, let's go.